agree. We'll see you tomorrow, same bat time and the same bat channel. Shout out to Bears versus Bulls. Shout out to what everyone does here. Everybody, great times. Sharif, green screen. Let's go.
Welcome to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every day. We got Neil, we got Sean. They're locked, they're loaded, they're ready to look at the tickers as decided by you guys. So make sure to join Adair and I on the How to Trade Midday Show and get into that chat and vote for your favorite tickers every day. Let's start with a look at here at the futures. Basically at highs here on the NQ September contract. This is the triple Qs though. Looking like we're about half a point up on the NQ. A little bit weaker on the ES, about a fifth of a point up. The Dow kind of flat today with the Russell finally giving a little bit back, down 3/4 of a point, but all everybody's going to be waiting is what I'm trying to say tomorrow for the next name over here. NVIDIA reports after the bell, widely expected here to beat the predictions of analysts. It's going to really be about the guide here, guys, and some people are already talking about how the guide couldn't come stronger than expected.
Randy in the house. Thanks,
all right, NVIDIA, just what a trade today, man. We were talking about this trade going short through 128, 129, able to get out of the way and then leave it until we revisited and we started going meme mode again. We revisited this 50-period moving average. I mean, as soon as it was about to break this 129, we're like, where's the next stop? And we talked about this with Sharif on air, basically live, stay with the trade. Well, it didn't really break 129. So I had to play the fade back into the 50-period moving average. I mean, it had faded back before, and now it works out. So right now, we're in a 50-cent winner. So went short early, made a little bit of money, then went long late here into the close. I like this trade. Again, trade the strongest names into a long market. I mean, we're here to do this every single day. So let's see if it continues to go. We're going to talk about some crazy trades that we've had on, including Palantir, including Meta, and we're also long right now ARM. And ARM, we just took that off the same play. Broke in, came back to the 50-period moving average, trying to break 130 there, and then we get back up and get out some in the 60s. So it's been quite the day, and proud to say that you're coming back right now, and we're going to be at the highest spot we've been at all day right now. So there's a lot to talk about, and excited to do that. But let's go through NVIDIA. How was your day?
You know what? NVIDIA has been strong pretty much the entire day from the jump along with SMCI. I had one trade in this, and that didn't even... I hesitate to call it that because I was talking to Obi about it. Looked to short it off that same 127.5. I was on AMD and a couple of other things at that time, so I had the order, I had the stop. It got in and out flat because my stop was it was sort of mispriced. So we got in and out flat that same price, and it ended up pulling back. So this was the chance for the one short level to work, and then once it started tearing up, like, well, that's no longer weak. Don't fight around with that one once it broke out that local high. It never ended up getting to 131. Had it been 131, I think a reversion would have been in play. At this point, support has turned into resistance many times. Today you have resistance turning into support in the afternoon. So I mean, if we talk about something that is a little bit different, AMD versus NVIDIA. Okay, AMD got green today, so kudos to AMD for getting green, but it's at VWAP while NVIDIA is at the highs. The NASDAQ's at the highs, and it's making lower highs, so just a little bit relatively weak. It's one of the few names that has stayed in the pocket for a shorting opportunity with some lower highs. But even this, if it just continues to hold above VWAP, I think a rising tide is trying to lift all ships here. And if it holds 150 too long, you might see a retest of that top. 151.5 is what I'm looking at for AMD. NVIDIA, you've got this little double bottom in VWAP in here that even if it were to pull back into that, it's hard not to look for some kind of a long. You never really know what the earnings are going to be. I think everyone expects them to beat. Everyone's concerned about the guide. Expectations are high in terms of volatility for 12% tomorrow after the market. The fact that you have an inside day going in here has it still coiling for potentially a bigger kind of move because it is still inside of the top of the range. And without any big break, it's just a stock coiling up and everybody waiting to see what the shoe to drop is going to be. And it's going to be a wild one, but I wouldn't get married to any direction tomorrow afternoon going into it. Because it doesn't matter how big the numbers are. If the market decides they want to take risk off, the stock can fall anyways, believe me. NVIDIA is not untouchable or undefeatable. Trust me.
All right, Dell next here, guys, and this one reports on Thursday. Obviously, another AI microchip style play as they're involved in the AI server business. Kramer talking about them yesterday, so if you're into the inverse Kramer ETF, there you go. He believes in Dell. He likes the look so far. There was this headline from today, obviously not really market moving. Wipro expands collaboration with Dell to enhance enterprise AI-ready platforms, obviously using NVIDIA technology for cloud, data center, and edge environments. Up about 0.25% or 0.5% right now, guys, but kind of a subdued day.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even look at.
I mean, SMCI's in there, and I think it's like Dell. Compared to what happened to SMCI, it just seems to me like the algos bought up Dell when SMCI bounced. Now, I guess we'll talk specifically about SMCI, but see, like, notice how this didn't wait until the open to make its bid. Usually, like, you'll get that wick bottom either. Maybe economic number, maybe earnings, 9:30. That's what you're expecting, or maybe an imbalance. But this started going when SMCI was catching a bid. So you had that Hindenburg report, which we'll get to because SMCI is one of the names on the list. And since then, SMCI trended up. Dell has trended up. Still, like a lot of other things, as impressive as a rally has been, it's 0.5%, and you're still very much inside the range for Dell. No breaks whatsoever, just more accumulation off of the top. 109 at the bottom, 114 up at the top, and kind of leaves lower highs in at 112. It does feel like it has a chance to break this high and get to the 114, but even then, just respect the range on a lot of these names. So you're just essentially waiting around for the earnings to drop, and so play it into the high is what I would do. But just keep an eye on that SMCI.
We're 70 cents. We're waiting up here near 129.20 to get a piece out. This is basically the highest NVIDIA has been at. Let's see if we can get a piece out just ahead of this 20 level. And then let's see it go even further. We're actually at 17, so we should be able to get that in just a couple of seconds. That'll be crazy if it stops here. I don't think it will. There it goes. Let's go. A lot of size. I heard Sharif talking about stacking up some size right there. So instead of stacking the size, we'll stack the stacks of cash, hopefully, on this trade. So it's a nice move there for NVIDIA. Look, from one nice move to another, Palantir here. I mean, we talked about this. We talked about the sticky note. We talked about being confident in what you're doing. This is 31, right? Why would we ever be short 31 on Palantir? Well, this note written at 8 o'clock was short Palantir 31. So there's the trade there. There it is coming back in right now. We only have like 5% left of this position as Palantir. Most of the outs were here around VWAP 3080, but this is the trade that we're working with. We just got another piece out when we must have broke the 200 period there or something, getting some out at 85. But that was a good out as well. And Randy was over here saying, how do we pick these outs? And it was just past support right there. So that was why we got out there at 70 off of this big short. So that's going to be, again, a big name for us here from the sticky note and really working out. We won't get to Meta, but we can do that in a minute. Meta. That's been an amazing stock. If you're following me at Trader TV, Sean, you'll be able to see all the posts there about Meta as well. But all right, 62,000 now for crypto. I'm surprised there's no crypto talk on there. Let's go over and talk about the SPY.
Yeah, underperforming the ES or the NQ here a little bit, Sean. 0.5% in the green. The NQ a little bit stronger. Multiple comments coming out of the White House with respect to the belligerencies in the Middle East. We'll leave that. There's also this Fed Messer was speaking, or former Fed Messer was speaking, says she doesn't think the Fed is behind the curve and doesn't support a 50 basis points cut. I guess really advocating here for 25 bips. But yeah, about 0.5% in the green.
Don't matter anymore. No, yeah, for everyone that was wondering in the middle of the day, like, there were no Fed speakers on the docket. That's because Loretta Mester is no longer with the Fed. She was replaced, and she's expressing her opinion. Obviously, the SPY are at the high right now. So if we can quickly come to the chart here, double top on the SPY. Technically speaking, you broke yesterday's lows. Right at the open, you broke yesterday's lows and essentially regained it. It's been upward trend ever since, right? Like very, very clean upward trend into this double top. I still feel the same way about these highs as I did the last umpteen times that we've talked about it. This market is top heavy up here and seems like it is absolutely waiting for a NVIDIA and Dell, like this last round of earnings before we decide what to do off these levels. If you're wondering why everyone gets so tepid up in here, it's because when was the last time, text notes, that you're talking about rate cuts or going into a rate cutting cycle when the market is pretty much at its highs? That's just not usually how it's supposed to go. So everyone seems like they're waiting around. We're not breaking these tops, it doesn't seem like, until we get something ridiculously good out of one of the, NVIDIA, obviously. You have other earnings this week, but I just feel like everyone's in a holding pattern here. So if we do approach those tops, look for anything that's weak. Like I said, look for anything that's weak. I mean, Intel right now, AMD, I'm still looking at for potential shorts. If we break out the highs, then you just absolutely can start to let it fly. But long, strong stocks and short, weak ones is an easy way to go. And then keep in mind, as Sharif said, you had some pullback in the energy names, and XOM for the first time all week, big time pullback, and not just all this week. Going into the end of last week, this was on a nice little tear. It reached a 120. I came back to my desk when Randy and Sean were talking about XOM, and there's no way if you're an energy trader, if you're an XOM trader, I know we're talking about the SPY here, but there's no other point I'm going to mention this. When you see a level like this on XOM, that's very day tradable. Like XOM looks like someone has it by the you-know-whats and is just, buyers every time it gets to 114, sellers every time it gets above 119 into 120. Like, how many times do you see this back and forth and back and forth? That's very tradable the days that you're at those levels. So if you're sitting there looking around for stocks that support and resistance, XOM's been pretty darn good, which probably means the next time it tests 14, you're not going to be able to buy it, or it's just never going to get to that 14 again. But that's worth looking at in energy, and it's so much stronger than the energy name I hold, CVX. Distinctly different, XOM, looking good. But once again, sellers at 120. Energy weakness, bringing the SPY.
All right, let's take care of some business right now. For any Canadian users, if you are looking to maximize your idle cash, enjoy 6% per annual on cash balances up to $10,000 for 60 days, along with 2-month commission free. You can also earn up to $2,300 in cash rewards when you transfer your portfolio. Both rewards can be enjoyed at the same time. With Moomoo, you'll gain access to comprehensive data on stocks, options, and ETFs. Plus, take advantage of our algo trading, allowing you to create, backtest, and execute your own strategies. Set up instant alerts to trade on your own signals, helping you take your trading game to the next level. We'd like to thank Moomoo for their current and ongoing sponsorship. And we're going to have, I believe Justin Zaks is coming on today.
He is.
They're from Moomoo.
32 minutes.
I just tried to short this NASDAQ right now. We've been shorting it all day right there. Thanks, Ramin, for that. Ramin, thank you so much for that. Ramin, thank you so much for that.
It's such a good promotion, you got to leave it up longer.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, whatever. We'll give everyone the love there. We just tried to short off the open, off that sort of that run that we had off the open back in there. I mean, it's ended at 11 o'clock, but this 69.50 level just came into play. We just tried to get it and we missed it. So now the NASDAQ's starting to fall back in. We just got a reload spot here as well on NVIDIA. Nice little fall back in right there. So it's a good thing that we started taking some of this out. Let's see if NVIDIA wants to get back up to the upside. Just a quick little reload there. And maybe now we're getting into some scalp mode. Okay. Right there, we'll take 20 cents. Let's see if it gets back. Okay, we'll take maybe more than 20 cents. Let's see if it gets back upside right now. It's NVIDIA. We like it. It's trying to battle off some of those levels. So we just take a reload down there at 52s. I believe, what do we have? Yeah, 54.5. So let's now see where we go. Hopefully upside on NVIDIA. We cracked too much below this 200 period, man. We are gone. Through 40, gone on NVIDIA. So we'll try it one last time here as we all are in anticipation. I've already got multiple emails from friends of mine asking me, are you guys pumped for NVIDIA? I'm like, bro, I mean, what do you even think about that right now? Of course, we are very, very excited for that. But we still have a lot of trading to do today and tomorrow. I mean, it's tomorrow night, not tonight. So there goes NVIDIA, hopefully back there up to the upside, NVDA and SPY. So we just missed a short on the Qs. I think it's worth trying again up here.
SMCI took a big hit in the pre-market today from this Hindenburg hit piece here that came out, in the pre-market, alleging intra alia, amongst other things, accounting irregularities and how they actually realize income. You can see how it reacted to that in the pre-market, got bought up almost basically to the pre-market levels, but now coming down again, down 2 1/3, guys.
I mean, down, what, 11, 12%? I don't know, whatever it ended up being. It was certainly at least 10% down when it broke 500 and it got to 595. So I guess it's like slightly less than 11% or 11% to the downside. As usual, and we had this for the lesson of the day, in a general sense, kind of what to look for in the days after, or in the moments or the days after specifically short seller reports. The reference I used was Square back in 2023. And the fact that if you looked at the low that it made that day, it was just fantastic for the rest of the week. It actually gave you that low twice. It gave you a 58 bottom with a 60 level twice, and then it rallied to 68 in the upcoming days, and it was a great reload on the way back in a few weeks later. So these reference prices matter. The short sellers are in position before this happens and usually deep in the money, so there's profit taking. Today was a big liquidity event. The only difference that this has, not the only, but one of the big differences has relative to Square that day is that Block on the day of the Hindenburg report did twice as much volume as any other day it did that year. Twice as much volume compared to like the biggest earnings day. This isn't that big of a volume event right now for SMCI, probably because it has to wait around for, its earnings are obviously a big deal. That's when it does the most, and because everyone's looking at AI and the chips. So it might not be the same move, but they did not waste any time. I think you want to use the bottom that got made today as reference. It ended up going right back to where it started for resistance. I think if this rolls over, it might be a little bit of a canary in the coal mine for some of the high valuation chip names, and watch out for that Dell. As we were pointing out with Dell, if this loses support, Dell has been trading in a very, very tight range and can't seem to break out the high. If this loses support, I would suspect Dell is going to come down a little bit on sympathy. I'm not in SMCI. I was looking for an SSR bounce. I never cheer for anything to open 10% down, but I didn't expect SMCI to start bouncing at 924. I thought it would bounce after 930, and I wasn't really looking to go long in the pre-market, especially on a stock like that. I don't think I would trade that one in the pre-market, although it was doing good volume. I'm only in Intel, which just wicked this local high, jumped back in, and then went all the way into VWAP in here. Seems like it's going to start holding VWAP, at least temporarily, in the strong market. If it loses VWAP, we're back to shorting underneath VWAP like this morning. And just play close to the vest. I'm also eyeballs on that AMD in the chip space, which is trying to lose VWAP itself and get back underneath the 150 level.
Yeah, NVIDIA is not going to hold this 150, or 128.50. Oh. Yeah, I wish it was. It'll be 150 tomorrow, but right now 128.50. Yeah, this was the banger, honestly, and we're in it again right now for $2. And we're still short, so we're short Meta. Our best out was right here, 519. So our short 523, 523, 522, and a bunch of outs, including our best one, which happened right here, and we're trying to break lower, lower, lower. I was just talking about NVIDIA here quickly because it doesn't want to get above 50. I'm thinking about, honestly, let me just get a piece out here at 49 if we're able to. Okay, there we go. I'm going to start getting, all right, I'm going to get some pieces out here. Because there we go. So now we're almost flat on NVIDIA. If it breaks higher, then we'll go. I'm going to wait for it to break 128.61.
You see the size?
If that, I just feel like I haven't seen much size on this. I'm just nervous that it doesn't want to break this level. So you know what? I'm just going to get out of everything. I'm out of everything right now. Scratch that. If it breaks 128.60s, then I think we can try it again. But until then, I don't want to. I've just sat here and watched this thing go back and forth, back and forth. We already have a great position here on Meta. Let's just see what can happen with NVIDIA. If it breaks back above 128.60, then we'll take it. Seems like there's a lot of selling right into here, man. I don't know why it wasn't bouncing back up there. I can clearly see the futures going down, and that's all good. And it's really too bad that we missed this top right there. We're waiting at 35s. But for NVIDIA, I'm going to take the shot now. All right, let's see if it holds. I guess if the futures rip, this is going to rip no matter what. But let's just take it. We just saw the bottom in there around 45 or so. Let's see what happens with NVIDIA. I'm trying to think about a short, but I still want to break this long if it goes. Let's be part of it if it rips again. So we'll take it out. Very, very conservative play there. Leave the money in our pocket, and let's see if we're right. And for some reason, this thing wants to sell. If it does rip up, though, we're going long through 60s. See how it's not going? I mean, you got to go. Ramin, come over to the screen here so we can show everybody. Like, it's not going. So it just stopped at 52. Let's see if it keeps going now. I mean, normally we've seen this just take out levels, coming back in again. Futures trying to help this name out and still doesn't look like it wants to go. So let's be patient with it. Normally on a future bump of 6 or 7 handles, this would have moved more than 1 cent. So let's see. I'm almost thinking about flipping this into the short, but I don't want to be short NVIDIA. So just talking myself and you guys through what's going on in this here head. So we also got able to get out of our ARM there. So we got some out at 40s and some out at 60s. And now we'll wait to see if it breaks 130. When it does, we're out of ARM. And yeah, we won't be at the highest spot, but we'll be close to it right now. Let's go talk with Sharif about Greek food.
One of my favorite types of food. I don't know about you guys. Kava reported obviously a few days ago, beat very aggressively. Multiple endless upgrades, obviously, in the days that followed. But there was this. So the co-CEO, the CEO, or the co-founder, I should say, as well as the CFO. So all 3 parties, in addition to Artel International, all selling here on the price pump. None of the selling was scheduled as a part of the selling plan. It was all as a result of the earnings report. This company, Artel, sold about 6 million shares, about 2.5 million for the CEO, and varying amounts for the others, guys, down about 5.5%.
Ended up closing the gap there on Kava right into 120. I actually think this looks like a reversion play to me, looking at this double top. Yeah, you know what? The more I think about it, hey, look, Kava, look at your daily chart. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, any stock that goes from this bottoming tail candle when everyone's like losing their minds that things are going to dump, and we're at $75. I think you open the next day at 79, and then it just tagged 125 bones. That's a pretty extreme move. It dropped aftermarket. Whether it's insider selling, it doesn't really matter. It could not get back to any previous support or close to it, but it goes right to 120, almost on a dime, wicks the top, and is now starting to pull back. I mean, VWAP sits at 117. So even this lower high here, 119 and a quarter, I feel like Kava looks like a short to me. I mean, people are so far in the money on this. If anyone's even trying to ring the register, if they're tepid about the market, you got to figure there's some profit taking in Kava if it didn't already happen today. I mean, selling into the strength there could have been, but there hasn't really been any real capitulation. One move down at the open, and since then, it's just been all buying. I'm going to look for this lower high, play a little head and shoulders game here on Kava. Impressive stock. Never had the food, but I'm going to make the assumption clearly other people like it. Doesn't matter what I think about the food as long as people keep frequenting. This one's been a rocket ship. You can say overvalued all you want, but it doesn't matter. Price is never wrong.
Yep, it's. I mean, its PE is out unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
What are you going to do about it? Like 500 or something. All right, so Amazon recovering. I mean, that's good. I mean, we've already sort of. I mean, whenever we talk about this kind of names, I went over there today to Starbucks. Not to Starbucks, but on the chart here. And yeah, wow. Okay, you want to talk about a strong name? This name, strong. You know what we were looking at? Actually, Randy was like, hey, let me look at a weekly chart because he was looking at XOM. And then we were like, let's look at Starbucks. Look how this looks on the weekly chart here in 1 second. How wild this looks on this candle. So it's just boom,
That's
right
ridiculous.
to the 200 period. So it's like all the way back here. And the thing is that now you got to zoom back all the way to 2019 where we had that top, right? In July of 2019, obviously we know what happened in March and we had COVID, but that was a nice top right there for sure. On the name. So let's be patient if we can here with Starbucks, but it's looking almost like the other way around here and wants to go a little bit higher into that $99, $100 level. So just be patient if you are in the, I mean, I'm in this Starbucks trade and I was even saying it today. This, I mean, we can't predict CEO changes and stuff like that, especially when they basically swoop in and grab the best. Now you have to wait to see if this wants to fade off of that level or not. I'm surprised that we actually held that 92. So good on you there, Starbucks. That seems to be working out quite nicely there for shareholders. So yeah, that's Starbucks. Again, nice move at day's high and probably a long. Look at this level from 97.30 or so today. Just keeps on bouncing off of that. And that's now where the 200 period is. I mean, you got to like Starbucks at these levels. So yeah. That's that, and we're just watching it. Oh, there, NVIDIA just fell through again. So look, this is, you know, we definitely know we're not a pretty face, but hopefully sometimes we say things that actually make sense. And there it is. We got out of this trade. Why? Because we're reading tape. We talk about how important that is over and over again. I sat here and did like 2 minutes there telling you why I thought getting out of this NVIDIA trade right here was the right decision. It just looked weak. It looked like they couldn't break it over and over and over again. We sit here and watch that. So that for me is, as they say, easy day on that one. So, so far so good there as we just continue to watch what's going on. ARM breaks lower, still a fine stock, but it does break through well, actually we get 130, so I got 94s there actually. So a decent out for us on ARM as that's starting to break lower. But so is NVIDIA. So we're
AMD's losing it.
AMD is okay. I'm going to cancel that buy through 60s now on NVIDIA and just try to watch this. I still like it, but let's watch it a little longer.
I mean, AMD's lost VWAP here, back under 150. Let's see if it settles back down. AMD, it's just not been the cleanest stock in terms of like finding levels. Like in hindsight, every level, like after you look at it for a little bit, looks really good, but it'll run through like a past level, stop everybody out, and then roll back over. So you've been able to get wins on it, but not without enduring. Okay, like it'll look like it's making another leg. You'll get back into it, work back into the trade, and then it breaks it back out. So ultimately, it's been a frustrating one, but sticking with the short on it, I want to see if we can't get back into VWAP. Rivian Millionaire rightfully just pointing out, he's like, go Amazon, go. I'm going to make the assumption you're long Amazon Rivian Millionaire because you wouldn't be yelling go Amazon, go if you were short, as it's about to attempt to break out the morning high at 174. I did have a trade at 73 on the stock and was in that trend down trading. Like it failed VWAP, I didn't get VWAP on it, so the lower high shorted, and then was scalping in, and put the other lower high in there, threw a trail in to see if it could carry through the low of the day. It broke back out. This now looks relatively strong to me. If you're taking out resistance while the market's trying to break back down, which is exactly what's happening here, all that has to happen, if the market reclaims the top, then Amazon's a name I'd want long. Problem is the market's not really reclaiming the top, and a stock that's down, I have a hard time thinking that a stock that's down 1% here when the market's rolling over at a resistance level is a long. So long into it, congratulations. I'm assuming you probably have it off VWAP or something. But in here, I wouldn't be inclined to hit the buy key if the market's pulling back off of those tops. It was Kava that I wanted to be able to get into. I mean, okay, let's just offer. If it's going to literally sit here right at 19, just offer 19. It's just sitting here at 119. Let's just get on the offer of that one, looking for a bit of a retracement. It's just a head and shoulders here on Kava. Like you put in the top, wick top at 119. I don't care too much that whole notion that, oh no, but the right shoulder, or I don't know, depends on how you look at it. The right shoulder is lower than the left or vice versa. That's not relevant. The whole point is it made a fresh high and then is making a lower high that's somewhere adjacent to the previous resistance levels from before. So it's like the break didn't happen and now short the lower high. That's the notion that I'm going with here on Kava. Some strength, obviously, as you see in that Amazon. I'd just like to see what the market does next before anointing this as a breakout through 174. VWAP, fine. Looks like it's trying to make a bottom. But up here, I'm almost thinking why not short this off this high?
Oscarito and family, what's up? Yeah, so I think there's a lot of reasons to go long NVIDIA. I'm just playing it off of what I've seen, and that is that doesn't want to go back up. It just comes right back to 50 again and doesn't want to break it. And when it does, it goes 1 or 2 pennies, and then it's just pushed right back down again. And that was on a market rebound there. Sure, it looks like it did rebound a little bit, which was nice, up 20 cents. Just can't get through there. So I actually re-put that bid in now to see about a break of 128.60. Hopefully it breaks that, and if it does, then we can go. And if it doesn't, maybe we'll just get out for 10 pennies. Like just try to see about a big break through that level. If it goes, great. If not, we can flash out of that. So that would be something that I'm looking to do right now on this name. And that is that. Another one, the biggest stock, basically probably in a while for me. Well, we've had a lot of big trades. I mean, we're currently in this $2 winner on Meta as well, but this was a big one here for Tesla. Came into some of those levels from yesterday that we had talked about. We talked about this yesterday as well, the day before, for this as being a holding spot. We actually went long Tesla yesterday at 216.50. So it was the same level, just you push it out, and now it's today for the short. So we were already looking short Tesla. It came into a level of interest for us. So we shorted again. And then that was a big, big trade, man. With our best out down there at 208, like that was a really good out. Remember when we got out and then I was like, maybe we'll regret that. It only goes as low as 207.50. And then now it's looking pretty good, but you're still bouncing again there off of VWAP. Wow, I thought I was going to be able to come back to you guys and say NVIDIA just broke because it went right up to 54 again and then fell back right there. So it just keeps on sticking its head over that 128.50 and then stopping on a dime. So we'll have to just wait for this to go. I'm waiting to go long. I want to go long, but I need to see something the other way. So Palantir right now going to sleep. I think we can just leave this one alone. We only have about 5% left of all of these trades. Meta is going to be one that we're going to wait for. We've already got it down to the bottom. It's $2 in the money. We'll wait to see what happens with Meta, hopefully breaking into the low 516, especially if NVIDIA doesn't go. This market could come in after. Rivian Millionaire thinking what? NVIDIA will go to 130? Yeah, I mean, right now there's a seller. So I think this will go. I mean, I think once the seller is gone, this thing just rips, but I don't know. The futures right now are here, and there has to be somebody either dumping a bunch of shares at 128.50 or building a short. I don't know exactly. How could I know? But for right now, we'll wait to see because we've already gone over the math. A lot of these chip names are at their lows. I mean, see Intel, see Micron, see, I mean, ARM's even
AMD
down $70. Yeah, AMD is probably one of the best examples. Texas Instruments, so on and so forth. While NVIDIA, not Broadcom really, while NVIDIA is trying to hold near the highs. So if you felt bad about missing 140, you're not that bad right now to get out, get 12 bucks off the high before earnings. So I'm just wondering if there's a little bit of selling here or whatever, because we saw the implied move was 11%. So that's $14, $15.
I feel like we get this.
So that could be the high, all-time high tomorrow is the implied move if it goes up. So
You know what's interesting is how often stuff like that ends up being true. Where you'll look at the implied move, then you'll pull up the chart and you're like, oh, that's the 50 period or the 200 period or the prior, like lower. It'll be some kind of a significant level, especially on the big names. But shout out to Peaceful Island. Nice name. I like that name. Walmart making fresh highs. Walmart's a beast.
look at it.
Someone was like, Costco's a beast, Walmart's a beast. I don't know what to tell you except for blue sky setup when it comes to Walmart. But today, it's a bit of a barcode. Unless you're trading it off the 76 level in which you've been scalping some wins, congratulations to you. I don't have a reason to look at Walmart today. I felt Costco was a mover, and that was brought up to our attention earlier. But shout out to that chart because I like that stock. No question asked about it. So we like it. Kava did print the 119. The local bottom here is like 118.60 something. I'm sitting at 65. I'm going to scalp some out here. See if we can rinse and repeat. If we do lose this potential lower high, it could get down into VWAP. Someone's like, how do you know it's a lower high? When you're looking at charts, all it is this is 120. There's a wick above, and it's consolidated a couple times. That's a tight one. This is a longer consolidation off a lower high. If it breaks out this top and goes and makes a new high, then it turns out that it wasn't a lower high. But in the moment, right now, that's what we're looking at. So that's all trading is. When you look at something, like if I pull up a chart on SMCI, let's just say, and I sit there on the daily chart and say, hey, look, 486 is a big level going all the way back into here. It's potential support because it was a nice, there's your break on volume at the beginning of the year. That was the first place that it stopped, was like 486 bucks. And then it broke away from that price. When it comes back in, I don't know that 486 is going to be a level. It just happened to end up doing that. And then it made a hold of it again here today. So all you can do is look at that if you're looking at support and resistance and take a shot at those types of levels. That's what trading is when you really boil it down to when you're doing support and resistance. You don't know if it's going to hold till it gets there. But if you don't have an idea of what might hold at a level that you like, then you're not going to be trading support and resistance at all.
All right. Yeah, that's funny because when Randy was here, it was basically the exact same thing. Or when he was asking me about Tesla and he's asking me about XOM, I'm just like, it's got to look at the levels. And if they hold, they hold. You have to be bold enough to put them on when they're there. And that's the problem. It's just like this NVIDIA trade. I mean, we were just talking about this, why we got out of it at 50. And we saw the sellers there. And then all of a sudden, as we talk about it more and more and more, it starts to collapse all over itself. So there we go, man. NVIDIA really retracing back down in there as well. We did get out of ARM. So that was okay. I mean, long here and out. A flat, basically, trade there on ARM. Oracle trying to move around a little bit as well. It's not. Tesla. You know what I wanted to look at was Uber. Uber, I think, was a missed opportunity to pick something up on the bottom, but I mean, there's no way you would have got that 55 on that crazy day down there. So let's just wait to see if it can break through 75 now, and if there's really some strength in Uber. I mean, I really like the business. I like what they're doing. It seems to be more and more market share coming their way. Breaking through $70 would be something, but I think you go long. Once you break through 70 there, then we can start to play the short. So we'll see the next couple of days. Remember, I'm pretty bearish heading into this earnings report. I just think there's a lot of money that has already come off the market and could more come off and go into some of these sort of more cyclical names. I mean, we've talked a little bit about, let me just check out on Home Depot, actually. I feel like there's some good buying opportunities here. I don't own the stock myself. It had earnings was what, 2 weeks ago? I mean, we had a good move. We were just talking about money going in somewhere. I mean, this seems to be what's happening right now. Is Home Depot at the summer highs right now? Not at all-time highs or anything, but starting to battle back off that 50-period moving average, starting to go higher. So that's Home Depot. We already talked about Costco and Walmart and all that working out as well. And then other names in the industrial sector, Caterpillar. Like, we don't ever day trade these names, but you can see this name as well once this loads. Still, nice moves. I mean, a lot of the tech names are also looking pretty good at these levels. Watch out for 360 or so on Caterpillar. But, yeah, I'm only really looking at, so Oscarito's long right now, NVIDIA. If 128 breaks, I think you're fine there. I really, really do. I mean, that just bounced off 128. So I think you might be fine. I'm going to put this 128.60 trade back in and see if we can't take that 128.60 here on NVIDIA.
Take that.
Might as well.
No Diddy.
I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever, man. No, I actually don't like the no Diddy reference. It's like,
I don't even know what it is, but you used it, so.
It's, you know what? It's not. Everyone knows what's going on with Diddy, but basically, like, the shenanigans or whatnot. So blah blah blah.
But I mean, isn't it amazing? Instead of saying
nothing's
pause, going on though, isn't that amazing that the guy can just do whatever he wants right now? When there's those videos out there.
I want to knock it into a rant because, to be honest, it really pisses me off, and that's exactly what it is like. And at the end of the day, like, it does seem like, hey, if you got enough coinage, then you can get away with absolute.
It's always been the case, man.
And that's just how life is. You know what? Life is not going to be fair. That's fine. Like, that's what you got to work with. Let's get on to something a little bit more positive, because as you're talking about NVIDIA, we got a full day before NVIDIA earnings. And last I checked, that was probably the biggest earnings name every single quarter. However, if you check out Stonks, and we had this on before, they got the promotion still. And there's a little something special for NVIDIA tomorrow. If you go to stonks.com, the nature of the game here is you can sign up a free account and get a daily reward, be able to just guess what the price is going to be, essentially, of something usually reporting that night, or it's either a big earnings name or something big in play, and then at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, depending on when they report, you're going to be able to guess what the price is. So you get your free play. Tonight, it's Box. Tomorrow, obviously, it's going to be NVIDIA. Here you got about an hour and 20 left to play. It's absolutely free. Like, I haven't actually made a bet on Box. And you know what? I'm not even going to bother. Usually I'll look at a chart. I'm not looking at a chart. I know what I want to do here. I just want to give it wherever it sets up. I'll just make the prediction. Because you know what? It's just in there for fun. And I haven't put any thought towards some of them. Blocks I haven't looked at. I'm not going to look at that one. Tomorrow it's going to be a big one. What's interesting is you got bear versus bull. Like, what are other people thinking? Like, whatever. I'll just said 28.90. Let's just go 28.90 and see what happens. And then you get real money. It's a $1,000 prize pool, which is divided up. First place gets like $250, and second all the way down the line, and it gets split up. It's absolutely free. You can scan the QR code below and then warm up for the big one tomorrow, because everybody is going to have some kind of a clue or a stake in what NVIDIA is going to do tomorrow, whether you're invested or not. So I think that's a good one to check out. So check out stonks.com. Have a little bit of fun with it. Absolutely free to play. And let us know if you win. I mean, if you guys win, I think Meta was the last one that I did pretty well on. Had a couple of good guesses in there and was able to win. So good luck with Box tonight, and obviously NVIDIA tomorrow. That's going to be a whopper. So Kava, we did grab the short. We got the 19s, just sat on 19 because that's what was printing. It came right into the local bottom at 118.60 and is trying to bounce. So I'm going to go right back to the well here on Kava. just feel as if it's starting to exhaust itself. It's obviously a strong stock on the daily chart, but this is what happened with it today. Essentially insider buying, or selling, I should say, sold off in the aftermarket. It was all buy most of the session, gets to the 120 level, which was a big breakout price. So a key price goes from big breakout a couple of days ago to a bit of resistance here, shorting the lower high at the 119 with a 15-cent-ish stop. Intel's not really doing much. And then the other thing I was looking for short was AMD. AMD's trying to get back into VWAP here. You can see it's not doing it, but I'd like this to get back in, retest VWAP, put it in a lower high of its own again, and then go back to the well, shorting this. It's just been relatively weak most of the day here. Market at highs, it's making lower highs. I like that look for a stock to short.
I mean, there's a couple different trades you can do here on NVIDIA. I mean, honestly, I know we just keep on talking about this name, but it's right here at 128.50 and not breaking. I feel like you could go short now and then just keep taking 10 cents and risk 10 cents to the upside if it breaks 160. And then you just take out half for 10 cents and then leave half for 20 cents, which has been the bottom, or leave a quarter for that and then leave a quarter for something else if it continues to go down in case you're right about a push down in. So there are trades available here. I'm going to wait for the long break. And okay, there it is. So now we're okay. Now we just broke long. So 128, and if this loses, this loses. I mean, we want to try this trade. So 128.39 or so for the downside there. If it breaks lower, then we will get out. So that's the 50-period moving average. We've kind of bounced off there a couple times. I guess that's 34s. Let's change our price. 128.34. We'll get out of the majority of it, 75%. All right, so now we're long at 63. So you see, that might have just been the top. Let's see what wants to happen now as it breaks that level of 60 and then basically just stops. So we've seen this before. I mean, I'm looking at it because I want to take the shot. If it works out, great. We should have a doozy here. Well worth, I believe, anyways, 20 cents almost for this risk. So let's just see if it goes back up to the upside. If we're taking 20 cents of risk, let's take something out here if we get into like high 70s or so. We're halfway there, and then maybe up to 129. Remember, we've also had problems at 129. The 50-period moving average is also sloping down and at 128.70. So we may be running into technical sells as well as sells on your level too. So I'm starting to now think that I thought maybe that 160 break, that break might have sparked something. There we go. I just took out a quarter of the 20%, sorry, of the position there at 60s, just because it didn't break as much as I thought it would. So we'll sit on that idea right now, see if it wants to work. We have our upside targets, and then we have some downside targets as well. So we'll see if NVIDIA wants to get going here with the last hour, I guess, before we get those imbalances at 350. And then at that point, it's all sort of hands off and take the wheel for the imbalances. But right now, there it is. It's trying to break up. I don't know if it does or not. We just took out 20% there as it didn't have the explosiveness that I thought maybe it would have. Like when a seller's left, you think the stock should go up because no more sellers and obviously buyers. So right now, NVIDIA is just trying to figure itself out. I have time to wait.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We can be patient here. It's 245. You don't have to rush into anything, find something at a key level. I got to get to Upstart in a quick little second, but Rivian was pointed out to me, not by Rivian Millionaire, oddly enough. What's weird, Rivian Millionaire in the chat never seems to talk about Rivian. I wonder why that is. Oh, that's because Rivian is only making millionaires for the shorts. That's probably why. But you know what? It is starting to creep a little bit higher here. The 200 period is regained. The 50 period is within sight. The high of the day yesterday is within sight. Don't want to draw a line up there. The high of the day is within sight as well. So this looks relatively strong. Let's put that there. There we go. We can mark off that high. And there hasn't been, like, look at this. On a 15-minute, you always talk about strength. We always talk about strength and weakness. That is all strength. There's not a red candle since it broke away from 1420. And of course it was 1420 that this broke out yesterday, dipped into yesterday, and consolidated at today. I don't know what it is about that price, or like 420, 1420, but for whatever reason, like you can't make it up. This is what it was doing at 1420, and now you're just in a strong trend to the upside. I would not want to fight this. I would not want to I would not want to fight Upstart either. Shout out to everyone that's been harping about Upstart. It's trying to break the high again. And I did not take this yesterday. When this started to go, see that top break? I didn't take it when it took out the top, and now it's going through the high. So this time, I don't want to say you throw caution to the wind, but it's got a pretty decent short flow. I still don't like the lack of bid on it. There just is not a heck of a lot on the bid, so you're usually just making levels in here. But giving it back into 44, I think can be worth it. This one broke the top at $43 and went to 44 yesterday when the bid didn't look all that strong. So with that short flow interest, yeah, like I just bid 25 and it just goes up to 30. So let's be ready for it. It is looking like it's trying to break. I want to grab it in here and give it maybe back down into 44 even, as Upstart for the second day in a row, breaking out, good short flow. There's a lot happening in this market, but nothing compared to what we're going to get the rest of this week. And glad to have back Justin Zacks. I believe Justin's with us, VP of Strategy over at Moomoo, to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're expecting to see in this week. First off, welcome again, Justin. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me on again.
Of course. And look, there's just a few things happening this week. I don't know if you're familiar with, there's this company, and they basically cornered a lot of the AI market when it comes to when it comes to chips. They're called NVIDIA, and I've heard a few things about them, and they're reporting. Outside of...
Tell me more.
I know, right? No, it's uncanny. Sean was talking about all of his friends emailing him what to do with NVIDIA. I just had an appointment with a physiotherapist who was asking me about two things, crypto and NVIDIA. Crypto, because everyone seems to always ask about crypto, and then what to do with NVIDIA. So it's the first place anyone's thinking about when they sit down in the morning to trade, and I feel like it's the last thing they think about before they go home. So what are we doing here, and what can we expect with clearly the Super Bowl of earnings coming up here, Justin?
Yeah, and it's not only, in fact, not only is NVIDIA kind of the most important stock now, NVIDIA may be the most important stock for the overall stock market because we're kind of close to this inflection point, right? And so what I'm really looking at is two things. One is how is NVIDIA, the stock, doing, but also, what are they saying about the economy, CapEx spend? What are their customers doing? And that actually is probably even more important for the overall market. Either way, so you could see, a big up move or particularly a big down move if we see any slowing in this future demand for a lot of their products.
Yeah, and I think when expectations, Justin, are so brutally high here for them, there's a saying I like, and I don't know who coined it. I just like repeating it often. There's no such thing as good or bad earnings. There's just the numbers that get reported and what the market decides to do with them. And ultimately, I don't think it necessarily matters whether we think they beat or not. If the expectations are super high, I just feel like there's more risk to the downside. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but what are your thoughts in terms of, we're expecting 11 or 12% move here today or tomorrow after market. So what are your thoughts there? Are you feeling like there's more risk one way or the other? From a general sense, I'm talking extreme move. I mean, if we do less than 10%, I don't think anyone's going to be excited about NVIDIA's move.
Yeah, I would say if you look at the history of the company, all they do is beat and beat big, right? And so they beat 5 out of the last 6 times, and 5 out of the last 6 times the stock's been up one day afterwards. So you can have a marginal beat, and the stock can still go down. My thought is, you're more likely to see a beat and the stock go up a certain amount, but any miss in the downside's bigger. So, you have to weigh those probabilities. So probably less likely to miss, but it doesn't matter. It's just one little thing. If people pick that out, and like you mentioned, a really important thing on the positioning. And that's something I've been looking at in the options market. You mentioned the implied moves. The realized moves have been about 7.5% most recently, last few quarters from NVIDIA. So we're expecting a much bigger move. And given what we saw in the overall market a couple weeks ago, I would say that's probably priced pretty correctly. Probably that 11, 12% is probably the right price because people are so long this stock right now. And if there's anything that tells them, if there's a delay in Blackwell, if something is wrong with these customer demands, if they don't beat significantly by $1 billion or more on some of these metrics, you may see a significant move to the downside. Merely meeting the expectations is not going to be anywhere near enough for a company like NVIDIA.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. Interesting. I mean, like, yeah, looking at it, positioning obviously is going to matter a heck of a lot, but it's like, it's almost like it's taking everybody's attention, and then we're forgetting a few important things that I wanted to maybe pivot to. Like, we just had Jackson Hole. We're going to get rate cuts upcoming, starting next month. Whether or not we get the 25 basis points, whether we get 50 basis points, some people seem to think we might get more than that. Certainly you're starting to see a reaction in that. Like, I've seen EV names and solar names try to press in advance of this. You're seeing the IWM move around a little bit here. So it just feels like everyone's forgotten for a hot moment about the fact that we just had Jackson Hole, and Powell maybe gives that indication that we're getting what everybody's been expecting, which are those cuts coming through. How does that play into this? Or do you put that on the back burner until after NVIDIA, or is this still front of our minds?
I think it's actually more tied together now, given what Powell said at Jackson Hole. So basically, you saw a pivot. It's not just about the rate cuts.
Most powerful.
It's about their dual mandate. So they have a dual mandate to control both inflation and employment. And they had been so focused on inflation because inflation had been so high and employment had been so good that they really didn't worry about employment. Now that's shifted. And so all of these big economic numbers, the inflation numbers won't matter that much. So we have PCE on Friday. It probably won't matter as much as claims on Thursday. That will be the big number to watch. And the big number, next week will be that, monthly payrolls number on Friday. Those are the numbers people are going to be watching. And how does that play through to the individual big stocks like NVIDIA? Like I just said before, it's not going to be about can they pass costs along to customers, these inflation metrics. It's going to be about the economy. It's going to be about what they're seeing in their backlog, what they're seeing on their orders, what they're looking to the future for that demand. Is they want to see any signs of that demand either slowing or drying up. And that's not going to be good for the stock. It's not going to be good for the overall market, because right now the biggest fear of all these market participants is an economic slowdown.
Yeah,
what I would also say is we did see some very good consumer confidence numbers today, and I think that's held the market up a little bit today. Obviously, we're in a wait and see mode. That's a good sign. The most recent economic numbers we've seen have actually been pretty good. There hasn't been it hasn't fallen off a cliff. But every time we get one of these big numbers, people are going to start freaking out. Maybe it's warranted, maybe it's not, but we will find out with NVIDIA, and then we'll find out with some of these economic numbers going forward.
To your point, before I throw you, Sean, here, to your point about that, I was just going to say, you had that economic data. Some of it looked good, and there's rotation going to some logical places. I mean, if you get some kind of consumer confidence, like Walmart can't get out of its own way to the upside. Costco can't get out of its way to the own upside. So, I mean, people are absolutely rushing towards these sort of staple names that would benefit from a strong consumer, but are also just the strong stocks in the group. It's not as if it's lifting all ships. So I think that's a very important point, especially as half of our chat was yelling at us all day long about how strong something like a Walmart was. But I know there's a couple of things that Sean wants to mention to you about, one of which reports later on that both he and I are a shareholder of.
Hey, Justin, how's it going? Thanks for joining us one more time. And Moomoo, we keep talking about it, and I want everyone to make sure they check out the platform by scanning that QR code on their screen right now. What's your take on Salesforce? I mean, we have CRM right here. I have the daily chart up on the screen right now, Justin. You're breaking or trying to break above the 200 period moving average. We do have 50 period down here. We're well above that. But we've come into this sort of wall in and around 266, 270. Now, software as a service, I mean, there's been some names like Snowflake, HubSpot and whatnot that haven't really been performing that well. Salesforce, where do you see with names like this? It's been beat up a little bit, down here about 30, 40%, maybe 30% from its highs. Any thoughts about this report? Also, by the way, reporting tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, what a big company, and it kind of gets lost in the mix when it is reporting, but probably also very important to the overall economy. And this is, everyone kind of knows the AI spend has been pretty good and people continue to spend on AI, but what about all the rest of it, right? And so this is a great tracker of IT spending overall and where that IT spending environment is. Are companies getting cautious? And we saw that with their last report, and we saw this huge kind of downturn, and a lot of people thought, well, maybe that was kind of a temporary blip. So I think this is the real chance to get a much better read on that. With NVIDIA, you're really just focusing on a relatively narrow market, although a narrow piece of the market, but very large. But with CRM, you're getting, I think, a much broader look into this economy and this IT spend about all of these companies, what they're doing, because Salesforce has, basically everybody's their customer.
Are you guys over at Moomoo seeing like an extended options period right now? Does it get NVIDIA getting real busy over on your side, or are traders maybe staying away from this report just because it's so up in the air?
What I can tell you is NVIDIA is pretty popular, and I'll break it down, kind of give you an idea of what people are looking at options-wise, and
Sure.
it plays through, whether you're trading options or trading the actual stock. But most people are looking for upside. They're call buyers. So they are, and again, if this positioning goes in, even if they have a good report, you could see profit taking. And it's one of those things where the stock rips right after hours, and you see people selling into that because they're already long and they've already gotten long a lot of options. And then in terms of strikes, there's two big strikes everyone's looking at: the 130s, a lot of put action there, and the 140s, which is kind of right near the all-time high. Right. And that's a lot of call action. So those to me are going to be huge pivot points. I'm curious to see if we can get to that 130 before they actually report, and it'll go from there. And then obviously the 140 on the upside, it would have to be some type of blowout report, but that would be a huge support and resistance level.
It's funny you mentioned that 140 level, because we actually did the math. The implied move right now is about 11 and change %, which puts us right up to that 140. So you're dead on with looking at that. So I want to shout out to all the options traders out there. Take a look over at this platform as well. Justin, thank you so much. Look, I can't wait for the next time you're on. Let's see if some of these thesis, theories, ideas pan out for us on NVIDIA. And let's see if those that are writing calls or writing options, puts, are winners in this game or not. I feel like the volatility, for me, actually, let's talk about this right now. Justin, I'm going to keep you on. And I need to make a prediction or not. I'm going to go under the 12% expected move tomorrow.
That's where I'm thinking it's under.
That's where I am. Are you allowed to make any calls on that, Justin?
Yeah, I'll give you, kind of my thought, and this is not a prediction, but I think it's more likely if the stock is down, it will be an over, and if the stock is up, it will be an under. That's my guess.
Oh, I like that.
There we go. You got the bang for that one.
That's even better. That's actually even better.
That is worded perfectly. I never even thought about it that way. I agree to that exactly. I think that's a great point. So, all right, there we go. We got it. Thank you so much, Justin, for joining us again. And make sure everybody scans Moomoo right there on your screen. So thank you, Justin. Take care and enjoy the earnings season.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Justin.
There it is. That's actually a really good point.
It's a better way of putting it, because ultimately I think that's what most people are thinking.
People will be scared and run for the exits.
Run for the exit, but if it's good, it's not going to be good enough. It's certainly part of the sentiment, no question about it.
I mean, the thing is, let's just say it takes out 140. Are people putting new money to work there? I mean, that's where the 12% stops, right?
I'm not. I promise. I bet that. I don't know. I'm not putting any money in over 140 on this stock.
No, I don't. I mean, it's more about obviously at the end of the day, these programs just keep buying it, and at some point, where does it stop? I mean, I don't know where it stops, but right now, 17 cents in the money as NVIDIA is trying to go back up there to the upside again. Comes into the bottom, into VWAP there. We bought a little bit. Let's see if it wants to hold. I mean, we talked about it in the chat. You can see our positions on board right there. You know what's actually starting to keep going downside? We didn't talk about this enough, and Travolta's like, come on, man. Why are you guys not talking about this meta trade? This meta trade is 250 in the money and just bounced. I'm going to get this out at 519.50. If we break through 519.50, I just got to bring that to everybody's attention right now. We've already canceled our other stop order, 519.52. Hit enter. There it is. That's how I trade. Hands off the keyboard basically for our outs, and hands on the keyboard when stocks start to go ham on the upside. We're waiting at 68. I'm going to take a 62 right now if we can get that on NVIDIA. As it's starting to go back up there to the upside, we're long at 40s. Give me that 62. Come on, man. Just bouncing off. Did I get those yet? No, I did not. That's hilarious. We talked about the volume that's going through on this stock, and I can't even, there now, still not out? Still not out. Okay, finally breaks through. There's the out there for 20-something cents. We'll see if it gets higher. I mean, I'm still waiting at 68, which is where we stopped last time. We'll take a piece out there, and then I don't have any more offers, and we'll see if this one wants to run into the hour of so-called power. And if that goes, then
The SoFi hour.
good on us right there. And then Palantir, again, we have less than 10, way less. We have 5%, sorry. I've already told you that, of this trade. I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I might just get out. This breaks 31. I'm not interested in Palantir. I've been watching it. It's just doing this. We already hit 31. 31 was a sticky note level. You can go find the free trading ideas every single day at Trader TV. Sean, today it was all shorts: NVIDIA, Tesla, BABA, Micron, and Palantir. Do we trade any Chinese names? I didn't.
Alibaba was an idea.
Right, yeah.
But
I don't think we...
at the end of the day, like, a stock actually has to do somewhat adjacent to what your plan is for you to take a trade on it. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Oh, I think, I thought Alibaba was a short to 84. So when Alibaba, like, promptly at the open, like, this is all it did. It failed the high, the pre-market high, and then just dumped. And it's now been doing nothing, hanging out lower. So unless you were in it really early, like, that was your shot. At 9:30, you could have shorted Alibaba, and if you weren't shorting it at 9:30, then unfortunately, no trade for you. And it's exactly the same thing on Pinduoduo. It made one test of not the highs yesterday, because I mean, what did we even call the highs yesterday? After the open highs were like 102. It did one check of the 102 level, and then it just dumped for the rest of the day. So it was a very specific trade that you had to just short the first available opportunity. And these are the two I looked at in those two. And if you did, congratulations to you. And if you weren't looking for that, you were looking for something higher, which I was, you just never had a chance to get in. It was Oscar in the chat talking about SoFi breaking out. So SoFi is making a move to the upside. Unfortunately, SoFi, every single time it has gotten to these prices, which is above $7.80 and into $8, you can see what's happened on the daily. The last time it was strong off this level was for, I think, a couple of days in February and 1 day in January. That's it. 1 day in January, 2 days in February, there's been strength above $8 on SoFi. Doesn't mean it's not going to go now. I love the reversal candle it just put in at 6, but until it breaks... to me, it needs to break like 850 or something, or the 8-quarter. But it's on a churn today, so good for SoFi. I think as a day trade, when it goes to a level like that, I'd be looking short at $8, maybe a false break of 8 or some kind of a mean reversion trade if it can get to $8. When I look at that daily, it just says resistance at that price. Try to play the resistance. GBDI is halted, I see in the chat.
Not GBDI, no.
I wanted to call it Jedi, but there's no way I can turn that into Jedi. That's halted like 5 times.
A dare chair push. A dare chair push.
For this thing?
I don't know. I didn't look at it. JBDI.
No, I didn't look at it either. This is like the 5th halt on this, or 6th. No, check that. I keep forgetting that I don't have to count it myself. I have this halt thing I'm looking at, and I'm sitting here counting these as if it doesn't tell me it's halted 9 times today. So shout out to Trade Ideas for that halt scanner. But it's halted to the upside at the high of the day, with a current tap of $12.79. So it's halted at 1084, indicating an open of 1280. So congratulations if it opens there and you happen to be long. That will not provide, if it opens that high, that's not going to provide any kind of a trade on JBDI. I don't know what company this is. Let's be real for a quick little second.
Short.
JBDI. Is this an IPO? No, it looks like this is a fresh IPO.
Oh, is it? Oh,
okay. So who knew? This is a small IPO trading for the first time here today. So good luck to anybody. I feel like the small IPOs have been doing better than some of the big ones lately if you're just swinging for it, because this looks like it was pretty clean, decent enough volume. But if it opens $2 higher from here, that is an absolutely don't chase without knowing anything about the stock. And even if I knew something about it, I probably wouldn't either. So we're not getting a reload in Kava short. AMD is not a New York stock, still underneath the 150, but not getting back into VWAP. So yeah, no fill on AMD, trying to go short. I don't want to chase it too far, but under VWAP, market rolling over, want to be short this name. Intel is still holding. a bit around that 20 level, but it's AMD I want to find my way into. I'm not going to chase this to the bottom. I'm going to look for the first available pop to short on AMD as things are starting to roll over a little bit here. What about that Amazon top? That was up there, 174. That's starting to curl as well. Okay, Amazon lower high, 173.80. Should have just pulled the trigger. It was strong at the time, but when the market's rolling over and you're at a resistance level, generally speaking, unless the stock is super strong on the day, I want to look for shorts. I've only been short this name as well, but that was under VWAP. So I'll look to this 173.80. That's still available with the market starting to roll over.
All right. Yeah, I was just saying to myself that, and in the chat, I was also saying self as well at that part. We think the market is going to roll out. Like it's happening right now. So I'm actually going to take a short right now on the Qs. We just emptied out the clip a little bit here on NVIDIA, upside 60s, 63s. We got some more out there at 49 as we start to break lower. I just into the close right now. We're underneath the 50 period. We've bounced. I was debating taking the short right there. We do take a small position right here on the TQs because there's that break of 69. I missed that. Okay, here we go. Now we can get some shares now. We'll have to pay. We paid probably about 6-7 cents too much there by punching short 90s there. But we'll take a little bit more now. I wanted this short on the breakout. I was debating, the real short is up here. We didn't break. So I'm thinking that like this 68, 69, 20 area, 25 area would be maybe where we eventually stop out if this is a long and we're wrong. But we'll go short right now and see if this wants to pull back in just a little bit. I mean, we've had success trading the futures near the end of the day, so let's just see if that will keep on going. It's tough sometimes to trade individual names, and I feel like right now, although we're long now at 38s on NVIDIA, it's not working properly, so we will probably wind up getting stopped out of this one. We're going to go short again on the futures and see if that wants to work. We did get stopped out, unfortunately, again on Meta, but look at the spread. Right now, it's actually calmed down with half-decent sizes, which is nice. But all the prints are going off at 30s, 26s, 23s, 30s, this and that. So I was going to try to use a dark pool, but the problem with dark pools is all of your orders have to be minimum 100 shares. And like, I don't trade out of, if all of these are 100 share, all these aren't 100 shares. Some of them are sub 100 share lots. And it doesn't really, on a stock like Meta, I mean, if you're going to take a position, you take 1,000 shares. When the spread is what it is, that's too many shares to be punching into at once. So that's something, again, just if you're on, everyone's trading style is going to be completely different. But if you are using dark pools, and we talk about it all the time, understand the platform and understand some of the rules that are associated with those dark pools. All right, TQQ, we're going short right now. NVIDIA is losing it. So it looks like that short in and around where we're long, actually, in and around that 60s and 50 area, seems to have been right. All we've been doing is fighting NVIDIA right here. Looks like it wants to break 128.25. We're gone if it breaks that level. So we'll just hold this into it like an optionable level. We'll take another bid right now, put the stop in at 128.24. If it breaks lower, then we'll get out. We'll try to buy a little bit more and then hold out for NVIDIA. But we can afford to lose 15 cents on this trade. I mean, like no problem. So if that happens, that happens. We are still trying to short the market right now. I don't know. An hour left.
Less than an hour
earnings tonight.
Less than an hour left. I mean, it's quiet on the earnings front tonight. It's the calm before the storm, as far as I'm concerned. But like, there's like, what else are you going to do in a market like this? I think you're not provided with many opportunities when you're up at the top. It's just find something. Find something else. You're trading the futures like Sean. Like I said, like find something that looks at a rollover point when you make a double top on the market that to me gives me a nice strike zone. So if I'm not going to be able to reload, I don't think it's a good reload on Intel at these prices because look at the double barrel support here at 20 even. So you got to wait for it to get back up to the top. That's what led me over to Amazon with a similar setup as Kava, where it got to a resistance spot and is now trying a lower high. So I'm just going to short it in here. I got 66. That was a bit of a chase. I really wanted like more closer to the 80s for that lower high. And let's just see if that one can get into VWAP. If there's something, relatively strong, willing to look at that as well. AMD was certainly a possibility. And we keep going over the same names. If that pulls back into VWAP, I might prefer this over Intel based on the prices that we're seeing. So let's see what happens here. Steve just said they went long in the NQ.
Yeah, probably good.
Good luck, I should say. It's just when we're at that resistance level, I want something where if we're not breaking out the highs, I always bet on when the market's going sideways, the way it has been in the afternoons, breaking out fresh tops just doesn't feel like that's been the way to go overall in the NASDAQ. And then if it does happen, it's easy to get out of your shorts when those resistance levels are in. I like the fact that there's clear outs provided. So no reload yet on Kava. I've moved down to the 118.80s, try and pick it up or add some more on the slight trend into the downside. If it gets to VWAP, that's certainly going to be an out for me if we can get it. So let's see what happens here. If we end up breaking out tops, there's no chance. Like, we make fresh highs in the market. I'm already out this thing if it breaks like the 119. So don't mind shorting back into it if I can get some 80s here on Kava. That'll be the next one, unless Amazon does something. But even that, since I got into it, the range on Amazon is 14 cents. You know, and this is a 3-minute chart. So that's like 3 bars here. It's not quite 9 minutes because they haven't closed this last one. That's a 14, 15 cent range in 6 minutes. Like, you can't draw blood from a stone, wherever the heck that phrase came from. But it's true. You just have to be patient. Got to wait for a better price. I'm going to add to this. If the range is 20 cents, then let's get some more tighter to the top, because that's what you got to do.
All right, so we're kind of waiting for something to happen, but NVIDIA's working. I mean, we bought some more down there at 35. It's now 20 cents in the money. As we're saying, trade the right names. I mean, there's the buy right there on NVIDIA. There's the upside surprise as it's continuously going here. But then we are not making any money. Why? Because we're short the market. I mean, going long NVIDIA and shorting the market is not great. This was more of a technical setup. There goes NVIDIA. It's blasting higher right now, so that's all good. If this takes this, we're only getting out right now, right here at the 50 period.
Here we go.
So here we go. It's too bad because we'll be net flat on this. We can't even really enjoy this move, but NVIDIA is starting to get ramped up a little bit. Let's just take one more fill out there. There it is. We'll take a 66 out right now just in case, right? We don't need it to blow all the way up and then we somehow get stopped out, which we are going to get stopped out of our TQQs in a minute. If that does go up to the upside, we got to take advantage of getting something out on NVIDIA. So there it goes, man. This could be like happy that we might have this one now at that bottom, but also happy to be getting out. We're out of half of our NVIDIA here as it's working to the upside. So that one's starting to work out just a little bit here. The futures might be independent all on their own. You know, they have other names like the largest name in the world, Apple, trying to trade around as well. Let's get something out. You know what? Let's wait for the TQs. I mean, if it does fall in, I don't feel great about this trade. To be honest with you, we almost got stopped out. We could have waited a bit more. We tried to take the 200 period. That did not work. But the more and more I trade these TQQs, the more I realize that as long as if you have your outs in there and they trigger, because I noticed it right here as well. We were short. There we got triggered at the top. That seemed to have been a false break. We were watching other names. We went back into the short. That's probably not great to do that. Reload again, and then out. And then we don't have to worry about this 50, 60 cent move up. So as long as we have our stop orders in, it always sucks to get stopped out. But in this situation, we'll have...
Better than the alternative.
Yeah, you don't ever want to forget to put stop orders in.
You know, here, I'll show you an example of why. Hold on a second. Here, I'll give you a stock. So I trade these things on the side. Like anyone that's around here knows, like I trade like little buyout things, just usually market making. And if you're not willing to get it, now I've been in these where the other thing happens. Like this one ultimately comes back. Like I'm shorted at the top end of the range. I can pull it. I can show you this is what the chart looks like on a 15. Like this doesn't do anything. But when you do this or this style of trade, you know that you can basically just make markets, and if you're good at it, make consistent money. But it has nothing to do with how much you make when it works, this style of trading, and this is for anyone at Real Trading that does this, has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how much you lose when it's wrong. So for me, and I was away from my desk, and I was doing, I have to do exercise every single day. So I was away from my desk doing my little sad and pathetic like toe pushes or whatever the heck you call it with a band, and this broke the top, and then get out. Now, ultimately, if I hold on to this trade, and just imagine if a stock has a 2 cent range, my expectations when it moves double that in one press to the upside and eventually 3x that move. Now, if I don't get out here and it continues, you're not talking about ruining days, you're talking about ruining weeks and months. So I'd rather lose. And when I lose on this, I'll probably lose twice as much as I would make on a good day because it extends the move, but you only lose like once every 10 days, something along those lines. But if you're not willing to get out when that's happening, if this thing decides it wants to squeeze because a bunch of people have been just shorting it inside, then you're just in trouble. And I take all of those lessons and you move them back over to any other style of trading. It's just a condensed version of it, a stock that doesn't move. It's important because if you can't say to yourself, or, I mean, to everybody, we tell you guys, well, where am I wrong in this trade? Like, where's the line in the sand? What is the Alamo? You know, like, what's the one thing that, if it happens, I should not be in this position anymore? If you can't decide that, whether it's a major moving average, whether it's a line on a chart, I don't care what it is. It could be a trend line. It could be just an absolute price. Who cares? You could be short in front of big size. You can be long in front of big size. Whatever that thing is to you, just make sure that you're getting out and not turning one bad trade into a career ender. I can't tell you how many times traders come and go. Most traders fail. We'll say that all the time. Like it's like 90% of traders fail. But if I look at the traders that are around and actually make money for an extended period of time, a lot of times if you look at the reason they ended up leaving or what started that path, one trade. One trade, one day was like that TSN turning point that they could not come back from. And I'm talking about the traders that make it for over a year. They usually have similar downfalls, and one of them is not being able to admit what they're wrong on a single trade. So, like on this trade here, there is your consolidation, there's your wick high, my stop is above that high. I want to short into it, it breaks that lower high, I get out. It's not the high of the day. Sometimes it would be the high of the day, it's not the high of the day here. It's that lower high. MNMD looking like it's going to. MindMed is still apparently making moves. I just heard in my ear that it's going, so I call it up, see if it's doing anything. Nah, I mean, it's just like it's breaking the high of the day, so it's going to hit some scanners, and then you'll hear, hey, MindMed is breaking the highs, but that's not doing much of anything here. And the daily chart speaks volumes. The reason would be interesting if it was breaking out, because this could do nothing and go 10%. MindMed.
Yeah, MindMed, a funny one there. All right, I mean, again, we're looking at Palantir, nothing's happening. I still have my plan for the TQs. If it breaks 69.10, we're out, although the 50 period is sloping down a little bit, but not much. Trying to turn upside right now. Hopefully, the market will push a little bit lower, but we'll have to check out what some of the big market makers are doing right now as well. Apple trying to fade maybe a little bit. I mean, that would help our position underneath the 200, underneath the 50 period moving average. So again, part of the reason why we're in this, right? Part of the reason why we are talking about NVIDIA and getting out and getting out and getting out of NVIDIA. Now we have about a third left of that trade. As here comes the market in. Let's just see now where it wants to go. I mean, we just got some outs for flat.
It's my charts.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, there it is. Yeah, thanks, Neil, for that one. All right, so we will just get out now for a little bit on the TQs for flat. Again, we are out of 10% of that one as it comes back in. We did get some outs for, and we only have a third left. We got 2/3 out of NVIDIA as that tries to go back up to the upside. So now let's go. Let's see if there is that downside move. We were waiting for this, like the hit off of the 50 period moving average. It looks like we want to go down. Let's just continue. We need to make a new low. So this needs to break 19,630 basically, and then maybe we get this collapse in. We could also get nothing. I mean, we've been looking at this for the last couple of days. I mean, here's the TQQs yesterday. Basically, actually, I guess it made a move down, I guess, right there, up and down. Maybe yesterday was a bad example, but at this time of day, at 3 o'clock, we started to edge down, and then right there at 350 is when we got that kind of boom there to the upside once those imbalances came out, then a sell-off, and then the last-minute print higher for those imbalances. So we'll have to wait to see if that wants to work. There goes NVIDIA right back up to highs as well. So we didn't get out of that much of the TQs. We talked about that, but we got out of something at 95s. And here comes NVIDIA right back up into 60s again. Hey, man, let's just rinse and repeat. There it is. We'll take a 58 out. We'll hit the hot dog cannon on that one. 24 cents here. We're down 6 cents the other spot. So we like that ratio. We could get off of this right now for nothing and just basically cost us nothing and watch NVIDIA try to fly higher. I'm just not convinced of either one of these positions, to be honest with you right now. So I like the way the futures are setting up for a short, and NVIDIA is making me nervous because if that keeps going higher, then I know it will lift all ships. So that's something that I'm looking at right now is NVIDIA long and the market short. And by the way, there it is right there. We just get a little bit of a money drop on Palantir because we get that fill. We wanted to get that fill just ahead of the 200 period. If it gets to VWAP, great. But Palantir, again, off the sticky note, short at 31s. So, yeah, that's all that I'm working with here with only three. It's now 3:20, so 30 minutes until those imbalances, and we'll get a more of an early look with an update. But for right now, I mean, this is what it looks like here. CNQ, so Canadian National there, coming through. Visa.
Yeah, you see those every day.
There's Lumen. Yeah, these are all nothing. These
CNQ and I feel like Enbridge we see almost every single. Lumen has been moving.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Palantir
would be there. You know what's Palantir always has imbalances in the morning. I don't wonder if there's not something that you could look at. Not every stock's going to have imbalances. Just very quickly here, that's Palantir. This is, there we go, there's Amazon. So it just came back into these lower highs, I'm calling them, into 173.80. So if we get a breakdown, I still like VWAP, but I got to be able to take 60s. It's just not moving enough. Like you're going into the high 70s, and then you're going 60. So first entry, I think was too early. We got it on the way down when the market was coming in, instead of allowing it to get to this consolidation level with the lower high. So that's what we're in right now. I don't think at this point, like Kava is not really moving around as much. Like, yeah, you've got these little moves in here, but there's just not a lot of printing going on. So every time I try, like it makes a level and I try to get it off the lower high, well, guess what? It'll wick, not get there. Wick, not get there. So this might just be a hold until some kind of a trend breaks. It's bottoming 118 in here. So as long as it's doing that, I'll probably just stick the bid at 118 and just go ahead and take it if we can grab that. If we get something back into 119, then ideally we're out of the trade and then we can move on to the next. I keep looking over at Tesla as well because like Tesla, see this 210 level that was essentially a flat bottom break? Like this was this support, that support. Well, all it's doing here is barcoding, consolidating, looking like it just wants to break higher on Tesla. So with the market coming down, Tesla's not failing 210 anymore. This morning it failed it. It even gave you a second look off VWAP. It got to 208, then it got to 209, then it got to 209. Now it's just kind of hanging out here, possibly ready for a break through the $0.50 that could go up. Now, if it happens way too late in the day, I'm not punching long Tesla at 349 or anything like that. But this looks like it could be a little local breakout. It's just consolidating long enough that it would look like a good break. Because if you take a 50 long, you can just slap a 10 even stop on that. And Tesla, even if it just got to here, that's 211.50. That was the morning range high. So just keeping eyes on Tesla, throwing it up on another level too, or sorry, another one of my black charts up here, just to see if it makes that break. With only about 35 minutes to go, got to try to find something with an explosive move instead of just a scalp trade, which are fine. But I wouldn't mind seeing if there's something that could break out and maybe run into the imbalances as opposed to trade a range into the imbalances.
When Neil mentioned 90% of traders fail, I actually looked at the risk, and I was, very happy to say today we've got 5 of 12 traders are green, and that's great. So I just wanted to say that's great. Although the market is not super exciting right here today, it's opportunistic. So 5 of 12. So that's pretty good, man. 5 and 7. I think that's pretty good for a group of traders considering those odds that we had just sort of discussed there. All right. The market's going to, I feel like, do nothing, so we're gonna have to look for individual names. What about bank stocks? I mean, JP Morgan right now is at 220, like right here. It's a kind of a cool level to look at, but I wish I could say more about it. I mean, the high of the day is 220.25, so you're coming into there if you want to sort of look at other names rather than tech names. Bank stocks have been just like, talk about buying best of breed. I mean, JP Morgan just continues. We did this yesterday. I think it was 14 of the last 16 days up for JP Morgan. That means it's getting probably a little extended and a little bit overextended, but at the same time, huge move up. And you look at how far away you are from the 200 period moving averages. Sometimes you get pullbacks when this is the case. And if you pull back into the 50 period moving average, that could be pretty good too at 207 and change. Join myself and Brian Shannon tonight on the Market Recap Show, where we'll be going over everything. And last time he nailed, we had Brian Shannon on when it was NVIDIA earnings, and it was live, and I can't remember, I think it was I remember the stock, I think it was it was before the split. I think it was 760 or something. It fell right back into that level.
I remember that.
Sort of an anchor, yeah. And then we had clipped it and everything, and we had talked about that.
It was anchored VWAP from the prior earnings.
I think, yeah, exactly.
Pretty sure.
It's out there in the ether somewhere, but it was a great call.
Go rewatch that one before.
So.
Warm up for NVIDIA earnings by just going back a quarter. Because I think it was last quarter. It wasn't 2 quarters ago.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was last quarter, but it's one of those things. Like if you're positioned ready for it, I'm never going to advocate that you trade in the aftermarket. But if you're going to have a plan, and we've seen Brian nail that multiple times, and it's a good warm up going into it today. There's nothing crazy going on in the aftermarket, so you can just dig into preparation for NVIDIA and other things. There was something small on the earnings list, but
for today,
there was something. I don't remember which one it was, but there was something there was a couple of small names out there for earnings. Nothing that I think grabs attention. Obviously, when looking at Box, that's the bet for stonks.com.
Nordstrom's.
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, Nordstrom's is still a short float. Any retail name with a decent short float is worth looking at posting. It's still double digits.
Nope.
And with the concern of the consumer, sorry, I'm still on the Amazon chart. I hadn't even switched over yet to Nordstrom, but let me get it up here. It still has a 12.5% short float, so that's pretty solid. These names tend to do really good reversal plays on earnings, meaning if it gaps down, look for potential reversals like it did this last time. So there's your move down. I mean, it's done a couple times. There's your move down. There's your reversal, reversal, reversal. So something along the lines of the 200-period moving average. If it were to test like this, look for maybe some kind of a pop on it tomorrow. And generally speaking, I'm not saying you can't short the stock, but if it does that same setup where it kind of dumps, goes down initially, and you can catch a bounce play on a stock with a 13% short float, why not go ahead and look for that? So Nordstrom's, I think that's worth watching.
Yeah, I was just going to look to see. Did you find out the short float JWM?
12.5.
Oh, you did look it up. Okay. So we'll wait to see what happens there, and then KSS again. People talking about that in the chat as well as coming through. If NVIDIA beat wonderfully, would Sound pop? I mean, I don't know. What is the deal with Sound? Did they get shares in the company or no? I think it was just a deal with NVIDIA. So we can watch out to see. I mean, again, if you're into SoundCloud, we've talked about this a couple times as well, and that is that potentially SoundHound. Sorry, if you're in SoundHound, not SoundCloud. If you're in SoundHound with earnings on board, maybe you just wait for something in the release. About this, so you could possibly play options on SoundCloud, I guess. SoundHound, sorry, to the upside there. $6 seems to have been the top, sitting at $4.90, not doing a heck of a lot. All right, yeah. ARM. Oh, yeah. Let's have a check on ARM right now. Ooh, wow. Okay, we got out at 130. So ARM, it broke lower. We got out. We talked about that as we got out of that name. So I actually really like that one. So shout out to Coffee Trader because. I didn't notice it fell into the 200. So that was a great opportunity to pick something up. If a name ever goes into the 200 period on a 1-minute chart, generally speaking, that's going to be an area that if you like the stock, you like the stock, and that would be a good spot to pick it up. So there it was again. We used the 50 period here, not sure if it was going to come in to that level. It looks like it does, of course, come into that level. And now we'll have to wait to see where we go from there. But ARM right now trying to take out the highs. NVIDIA is bouncing back up. So here goes NVIDIA right back into 55, 56 level. We just take a fill there on NVIDIA as well. So NVIDIA climbing. We got it at the 50 period at 50. Now you're going to 56, 57. It's NVIDIA trying to make that move higher. It's Adara at the screen.
We do have here quite a few names making some outsized moves on the S&P 500. Some of these catalysts we've discussed earlier today. Just to cover once again some of these larger moves. Carnival, CCL falling down a little bit here, still up more than 3%. We did have Carnival Cruise Line unveiling some new itineraries for 7 new ships with some new destinations as well. Looking forward to 2026 to 2027. So nice cruise line guidance setting CCL strongly to the upside. SMCI, nice recovery here, but this one initially trading lower after getting a short report from Hindenburg right before the bell, saying that the company has some accounting, governance, and compliance issues. They did a 3-month little investigation here, also citing some issues going back to 2018 and 2020 for SMCI. Stock recovering again, though, very nicely, despite that initial move to the downside. Last but not least, we have Paramount on watch here, PARA. This one basically at low of days. We initially had this one moving down after Edgar Bronfman, who had a $6 billion bid for the company, pulled out with its Paramount's deal reaching a go shop period ending with Skydance. We also had Jim Leventhal announcing on CNBC that he sold his position in PARA. So another update to that saga for Paramount, guys.
Thank you, Adara. You know what? I didn't realize that SMCI, Hindenburg started their quote-unquote investigation 3 months ago, which as far as I'm concerned just means they shorted it 3 months ago. And usually you don't have an idea what price they might have. So using my napkin math, I'm just gonna propose it's somewhere between here and here because that's 3 months ago. So let's just say 850. All the more reason. Like if you had an 850 and you were shorting at that, they're risking, I don't know if they're getting out at 1,000, whatever. They can just lean on it as long as they want. But yeah, they've probably taken their profit. Ho hum. They'll move on to whatever the next one is. And anybody that gets wiped out on one of those reports, it is what it is. Like there's nothing you can do about it. I remember when Block had theirs, like I own shares of Block. I didn't do anything. Like I wasn't, okay, that's nice. I'm still owning Block tomorrow. But good for you, Hindenburg. I didn't read the report. I'll admit, I'll cop to the fact that I didn't actually read the report. Actually, the cool thing about it now is you can just use ChatGPT to get summaries if you really do want to know. Like just, or it doesn't have to be GPT. You can use like Perplexity or whatever you happen to use in case you want to have a general idea of what it might be. It didn't sound good, but they never sound good. But yeah, they've obviously made some good profits. Amazon got back up to the 80s, technically 173.77. Just got fills finally in the 60s and then one in the 50s. We'll shoot for halfway to VWAP and then VWAP in here. It's 330 already. I was about to double check. Just get that bid out there. I was about to double check those early looking balances, which are still CNQ, Visa, and Lumen. Lumen doing anything worth paying attention to? If it's going to be a buy and balance on Lumen, I know it's done 38 million shares, but a million's not nothing compared to the liquidity on level 2. It's making a sort of bottom, this Lumen, after dumping pretty much the entire day. Like that is Lumen's false break. That is Lumen the last couple of days. But if it's a buy and balance and holding 5, that could be worth at least watching. Okay, Kava just printed in front of 118, so we're able to get that one out. It entered too fast. So we just got down to the 118, never got the reload on Kava, just went station to station. 119 into a 118 support level as that starts to head to the downside. I don't think Kava's a flush, but I do think this is the kind of stock people are probably excited to take some profit on. I know I would be if I owned it, but I don't, but I can't, so I won't. And in terms of looking for buys on this thing, you have to grit your teeth. Not be too excited about what the PE could be on something like this, because that's how people missed out on Chipotle forever. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only reason I never owned Costco. And sometimes if you just like the company, you got to let it grow into it. I'm not saying you buy Kava here, but I do still think for at least a day or two, I'll be looking for an opportunities to short it after this topping tail candle. As long as it's showing you some trend signs after this day, lower high, hold underneath 120, I'd be thinking short for a couple of days.
Okay, 3:30 right now. We have the TQQs, and it's trying to go. So let's see if the NASDAQ wants to go lower. We do see this fill right here, which is why we're trying to get out. This little bottom in the NASDAQ, so you can see what we're trying to do right now is just, what am I doing? There it is, more and more short. So we're coming into that bottom right now, 86s. I'm bidding 86 to get some out. So, I mean, this is my problem. It's when I think about the amount of shares, it's like, I bid 88s, 89s. Like, I don't want to miss this level. I'd sacrifice a couple pennies. Like, why am I exactly at 86? It's because that's the bottom. The bottom was what, 84, 85? Yeah, basically 86. So I'm trying to sit there to see if we come back into that level. It's just an ETF, so I'm expecting it to potentially wipe it and then see what happens. So TQQs right now, nice little downside push here, adding to our day. See, now I'm already getting anxious. Let me put some bids there at 91s, cancel the 86s, take a fill down there, reload it at 86, but just a little bit less shares, because if we do get those 91s, we don't want to get we don't want to be right and then it tanks and we don't have enough shares on. So whatever I cancel at 86, I'll put at 91 and then make sure to cancel my 86. Sometimes we don't do that. And then it's like, oh my God, what have I done? I have too many fills down there. And it's like, oh, well,
Get the vaunted overfill.
Yeah, that happens to me not all the time, but, or you're out of something and you don't mean to get out of it. Let's just check what happens with Meta. Meta, obviously, that's $3, that's $2.50 or whatever. Our short rate here is 522. That out is 519.50, so 250. But the thing is that look what's happening now. Meta coming back in pretty good right now, down into 218.50. So what a good short, 1, 2, 3 times, and multiple shorts as well.
And if you're wondering how to get that short, well, you got to put an offer in.
Right.
Zoom that. Well, no,
way.
was there 15? You have a 15 or 20 minute up.
This is 20 down here.
There it is. So if you're wondering about that, look where it flat bottom broke yesterday. It was at 523. So what's the easiest? Easiest is the wrong word. What's one of the most simplistic patterns on a chart? A previous support level turning into resistance, a previous resistance level turning into support. It's that simple. Yeah, so Meta was 523 yesterday. It was 523 today.
That's exactly what it is. A good call there. And when it came back up there, that's why we had a little more confidence. That was a short against 524. So that almost came out. But those are 523 shorts. Was our biggest stock yesterday. It's second today. The number one stock today, it's not even close, is Tesla. We somehow were able to have the high tick of the day on Tesla. We were short up here at 215.50. We covered it at 208. That's $7.38 we took on that trade. So, I mean, this is why we're here, man. We're here to put on some numbers and hopefully have some decent days. So I'm waiting for that to happen right now. We just got that 91. Oh, did we get 86 as well? No, we just got 91s. So we only got 91s down there. This is when we sort of started the short all the way up, but then we loaded it. We've been getting out. So it's not like this is, oh my God, we're crushing this trade, but we are short right here and it is trying to come in. We did talk about it fading through this, but it doesn't look like there's enough juice in this name. NVIDIA, I mean, who would have thunk it? Right now, NVIDIA's in a 20-cent range, 40s to 60s, up and down again with a couple slipping spots after that. But other than that, we wait to see if there's anything coming through into the close. I'm going to put one more bid now at like 96 here. And just, I hate doing this, but if the market's not going to move, we only now have 14 minutes. I've sat here over and over again with good winners or losers, and the fate has changed at 350, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'd rather try to start getting some of this out, especially if it's going to print us for some profits like it just does right there at 96. So just starting to get it out. We're slightly off of our high of the day, but if I do simple math, we've given back about 20% of our day just doing whatever trading we've been doing. And it calculates our high spot. So like when we were in the money on ARM, it did come back in, so that takes that loss there. Other than that, though, it's been pretty good. I wish NVIDIA would go, but I'd be much happier with the futures fading. We have many more shares.
I would agree with the fade. It's still, like, the market's still not doing like a huge range, but it is, here, why not? It is a slight rollover. So again, it's just a double top, shorting things off the highs, out of Kava, still in Amazon. It just tagged the $0.50 here and now continuing to bid. So I think VWAP, at this point, VWAP or bust. The closer it gets to 350, no longer stop here, usually stop in here at about 173.6. I like to put the lower high in. That's just because of the imbalances coming out. Like, what's the point? Amazon could come out with $1 million to buy. Or you could just have all the big cap tech names come out with buy balances and Amazon's nothing, and Amazon spikes in sympathy. And there's just, as Sean said, there's nothing you can do about it. I am still in Intel, but this is a trade from earlier. It got to VWAP. I just wanted to see, can it press through VWAP or get back to short off the high? It's about 2020. Actually, it is 2020. This wick high was like 2021, but I re-entered it here at that 2019 level in front of the 2020 when it just reclaimed 2020 to the downside. Same thing it did in the morning, just a smaller wick top. So if it gets back above 12s, I'm trailing it out. Like, simple. Like, this level here breaks that, I'm trailing it out. There won't be a new trade in Intel unless somehow it has a big imbalance. And even then, Intel's imbalances are almost never important. I can't remember the last time it didn't pair off. It's a kind of name like Visa. If you see it on the locator, just understand it's probably not going to mean anything. At 355 it pairs, 358 it pairs, one of those two. Apple apparently recovering 228. That's a pretty strong stock today. Apple. And the other, you know what? That just reminded me. Microsoft. Sharif was on about Microsoft in the middle of the day, and I was like, I meant to take a look at it, but it was no part of my trading plan today was Microsoft. I meant to take a look at it, didn't. But you had a nice upward trend. When this got to VWAP, and then this little breakout here, there's your consolidation above this break at VWAP. That's a gorgeous looking trade because you can be long there with a stop there. You have to be looking at it first. But when do you get to risk 35, 40 cents on Microsoft and then have it be $1.50 to the high of the day? Very rarely you get that kind of a setup, and it was there for you. That's what happens with an inside day. And if you don't break fresh lows, you can get a trend that can go from the top to the bottom, or the bottom, in this particular case, to the top. Microsoft's still a bit of a dog on the daily chart, but hey, it's got the 200-period moving average. This was one of the names that I picked up on that doomsday. What the heck we call that Monday? On that doomsday. Right back at the 200-period. This is why I don't trust this market. If Microsoft loses the 200-period again this week, that daily chart doesn't look so good. So yeah, if you're holding it forever, I don't care. But that doesn't look that great if we lose this 410 level here in the 200-period moving average. That would be a decent head and shoulders look and not a very bullish looking chart. Kind of convincing myself that Microsoft could be a breakdown underneath 410 tomorrow. I'm just going to write that down.
We used to trade Mr. Softy all the time. I mean, in fact,
every day used to be.
Yeah, we coined it. I mean, that was like one of my favorite stocks. We've talked about that. But recently, though, we've really switched over, and now we're switching over to Meta. So Meta, again, very, very similar. Like, although Neil was breaking down a trade that wasn't taken, Meta, we already broke this one down. This was a big trade today. Very, very similar setup. So again, try to find what best fits because there's so many trades that you can have there today. I don't think we're here until we break. I was zoomed in there, and I just wanted to say if we break this 16 area right here, we're gone on the TQQQs. It doesn't look like it wants to go, which is completely fine by me. We're still, I mean, because now here it goes out. We'd like it to go down. We've gotten a bunch out now. So this was always going to be kind of just that shot here that we retrace lower. Look at the market. Take advantage when it dips in. Try to hold on when it comes back up. Very, very slow going. And we actually, when we came on today, we said, this can happen to us in the afternoon. And I was saying, like, I think it was this morning, like a lot of the money is always made. And I can tell you, because I look at the numbers literally all day, all the money made. I mean, I talked about Obi, and Obi's still right there coming in. So it's like not much has changed here from the morning. Very little trades happening right now. And I think when you get that volume spike, it's great. But other than that, you're kind of just sitting around. So if this comes out, we'll punch ourselves out right now, and that gets out right now. We're up now 30 cents in the money on NVIDIA. But as I said, we already have more shares on the TQs, which is why we started to get it out. So here comes NVIDIA right back up to that high. You know what? One more out for us. Want us to do that. We haven't gotten anything out at 66, so we'll just take a 66 there, 65. Nice out for us. It's just right back into that level. Look, we can see levels, man. We've already been there right now. So that's something to look at right there for NVDA. Nice out. We'll see if we push back in. And then here comes the Qs again. We almost got stopped out there. Now I'm going to put a bid like at 04, 05. Maybe we're able to get that bid. Let's go. Give me that bid right now. And just start to like say, hey, let's throw the towel in the sky a little bit here because the market's definitely, we got close to stopping out. We're able to get that great fill there on NVIDIA because we were looking at it. Now, if the market comes through, it comes through. But if it doesn't, we only have 5 minutes now until those imbalances, 7 minutes, and then we're going to see what happens. So let's take advantage of this move down there. It is. We get a 4s. These are all profit spots now. It's just not making as much as we would like. TQ's pulling back in. Let's get some more out.
So, Daniel, I'm up on Amazon, but like you said, are you positive on Amazon after your loss? I haven't lost on Amazon. I lost on Apple this morning. Apple was the short that I liked this morning. And so maybe you might have got them mixed up, which is fine. They both begin with A. I mix them up all the time. No, it was Apple off of these levels, like the 227 and then the recent high 228. Like that's what I liked for the south side. It ended up extending well past that. I put in a resistance for the line that it made today. But I was shorting this one off of those highs all morning. So that one was no good. Amazon hasn't been bad. I did get out, like I trailed out of this earlier, but my last exit was a break-even exit, and then the one in here we have into VWAP. It doesn't seem like it wants to break VWAP because you're not getting extreme moves right now in this market. That ASTS.
Go.
Okay, well, it's accelerating to the downside, down 9%, starting to unwind after what has been I mean, this has been a good run for it. This stock has a long way that it could drop. The 50 period is $18, the 200 period is $8, and it looks like it is starting to give this one up. It just broke yesterday's low a couple of seconds ago, so watch out. What goes up can come down. We always talk about taking profit in these kind of stocks. I just noticed that one. It hit an alert because it broke the low of the day. That's all. I'm not trading it. I'm not punching lows at 344. Just looking for VWAP at this point on Amazon. Did not get trailed out there in Intel, so it's going to still try to break those lows. I've tightened up the stop there. But just hanging on to this one for VWAP. My dad's account prediction on NVIDIA by 350. I mean, Sean's in it, and earnings are tomorrow. That fly is really, really annoying. I'm going to get it at some point. But the easiest answer would be, well, the range has been 128.25 to 128.80. The midpoint of that, essentially, is just like 52. So just call it where it is right now. It's right in the midpoint of the range. That'd be easy to say that in 5 minutes, it's going to be exactly where it's been the entire time. And then after the imbalances, it makes a move. That would be my guess. Like, I feel like if a stock won't break, if NVIDIA can't break the range for this entire hour, then before 350, do I think it's going to break the range? In a general sense, no. And I'd probably make that call every single time a stock does this going into 350. So that would be my guess. Not probably the answer you want to hear, but 350, I'd expect to move.
Yeah, I don't. It will move 350.
No,
there is a mechanical
that'll happen.
issue there. Okay, so just quickly here, we covered some NVIDIA. Obviously, we didn't get anything else out. We covered some TQQs here, and I just feel so stupid. Not stupid, but I wish the market was moving. I can't control this. It's not doing anything. So every time it comes down, man, we're getting out, and the stop is in right now. I'm hoping for better skies ahead on this name, but honestly, I don't know if the market's going to react at all. Here comes NVIDIA. I have no more outs. So I think the NVIDIA might come as a buy. But I don't know. There's been that seller in and around. I thought it was around 50, and it was, and I still feel comfortable with that. When's the last time? I mean, NVIDIA, this whole hour since we've been looking at it is just at the same levels. So right now, let's wait to see what happens. But I'm not going to, I think, higher, but those imbalances will ultimately be the answer to the question. So, okay, what's up, Adara?
Just be aware here of Philip Morris trying to get to new highs here before we get those imbalances and the close. Bit of a volume increase as well. We did have this one coming out here saying about 10 minutes ago that their Swedish Match affiliate apparently adding 450 new jobs through this $232 million investment in Kentucky. Also talking about how the ongoing expansion of the facility in Kentucky is expected to provide roughly 900 million cans of capacity for 2025. So some capacity and expansion updates here for PM, giving this one a bit of extra volume as we head into the end of the day, guys.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin too, Philip Morris. All right, so... Yeah, all right, so we got stopped out there. The TQs did go back up to the upside. We have so many trades on it. I'm going to say that we were net positive after all of this because our last fill is right here and getting some out. So I feel like it was pretty flat, and it sucks because the last hour didn't give us much to do, man. I was wishing and hoping, you heard me talk about that. When we dipped down, those were all great outs, and they did make the difference net at the end of the day. But here goes NVIDIA. So this is now 40 cents in the money. I mean, we lost, like I'm boo-hoo here. We lost 7 cents on the TQs. Right now we're 40 cents in the money. NVIDIA is trying to get back up here. And let's just wait. We now have 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes until those imbalances. We'll have a quick look. Tesla, 210. Nice bounce for Tesla. Right now coming back to the upside a little bit. The other name that we had on our sticky note today was Alibaba. So we can have a quick look over there and see if there's anything happening with Alibaba. It doesn't look like it too much here, but 81.70, and again, put me to sleep, baby. Alibaba right now, 81.80, 82 as a top. Maybe tomorrow's that level. I want to buy more of this name. I just don't think the time is right yet. We'll give this a couple days to absorb some of that PDD news. PDD yesterday, of course, was down that 30%. Well, and today down another 4%. So 35% in 2 days for PIN Duo. Momentarily, we get this out. I do have an offer on NVIDIA in case it doesn't come back here. We do have an offer at 90s right here, just before 129. If it blows up to that upside, that's where I'm looking to get out of half of what we have left. So what's up, Adara?
Another catalyst here as we get into the close and these imbalances, this one being for CrowdStrike, because you can see a bit of a volume increase in a couple of these candles as we head into the close. This company announcing here, CRWD, they're enhancing one of their NVIDIA agent blueprints here with their AI native Falcon platform to help accelerate secure generative AI development. So some AI development here through CrowdStrike's Falcon platform, sending CRWD a little bit higher here as we head into the close. Keep in mind, CRWD reporting earnings tomorrow alongside NVIDIA after the close, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just NVIDIA tomorrow, although I know everyone's excited about it, so thank you to Adara for reminding everybody. So it's interesting here because what I like when the market's going up, but look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's heading into the upside, but going into the imbalances in 30 seconds or so, you know what? The market's going up into this. I'm going to punch out of Amazon. I'm flat now. I'm just getting out of Amazon. It just wicked this bottom. I'm just going to get out. That went down. Kava continues to go down, so we like Kava for a retracement. I don't know if it got to VWAP, but if it gets to VWAP, but certainly like 119 lower high into 118, we'll take it. Amazon goes down when the market goes up, we'll take that. But I want my eyes to be on NVIDIA in 10 seconds when the imbalances come out. So we'll see what happens. There's no guarantees one way or another that there's going to be a big number on NVIDIA, but if you had to bet that one stock is going to put up a number in 2 seconds, I would make the bet that it's going to be NVIDIA. And it's a sell of 2 million. Okay, I was kind of looking for the other direction. So that happened. NVIDIA, 2 million to the sell side. Intel 1.3 sell. Peloton, 1.2 sell. That's not big enough for NVIDIA that I'm going to love it. I think I would have preferred if it would have broken out that top, but NVIDIA is now retracing a little bit. Not a huge move on NVIDIA, about 30 or 40 cents back in. It was Peloton that was 1 million as well. So Peloton, decent size imbalance here for Peloton at 1 million shares. It's only done 14 million on the day, so that matters. Nah, not a huge reaction out of Peloton. Dropped like 3 cents. That would have been interesting if that was breaking the low. That ASTS, yeah, that actually caught a little bit of a bid, ASTS, believe it or not, but still rolling under the to the downside. It did hit SSR range, so it could have just been like a nice little SSR bounce on ASTS. That one's still heading to the downside. So small imbalance, relatively speaking, on NVIDIA, a couple million, but compared to the 5 and 6 we've seen before, it's not really breaking the bank. I want to see over that too, make a trade.
Yeah, still a big move on NVIDIA there, man. Down 60 cents. We did not get stopped out, thankfully, so we'll wait to see what happens with that NVIDIA. Yeah, 2 million sells. So not as heavy, but as relative number as compared to how much there was paired off. I mean, right now, still very, very decent. So I feel like this could push in. We break through 25, we're out of NVIDIA. There's a little bit of a flip on NVIDIA. Now it's gone. You see what I mean? So now we wait to see where NVIDIA is now as it starts to bump back up. You see what I'm talking about? This is the problem. You have these imbalances that come out, and then this happens right back in where we'd love to get out. So we get stopped out and balances come. So we've already learned about this. Our net is still where it is. Today, if you're wondering, is going to be another one of those trophy days. So we're really, really happy. Shares of Google pulling back. Right now I'm hearing. Let's see what's going on right now. Yeah, there it is. A drop down in for Google. So maybe something happening there on Google. I feel like there was an imbalance I saw, but not too significant on GOOGLE. There it is, Google right there. Small. That's just the A shares. We'll find, or the B shares. We'll see what winds up happening. Now, Peloton, Alphabet, Apple right now not doing anything on that sell imbalance. So, yeah, it's too bad that I feel like we might have been right on the NASDAQ, but at the same time, this is what 350 is all about. So we take the risk there, ho-hum, little bit of an L on that last position, and it's all good because NVIDIA at the end of the day, we're able to get some decent high picks there. We don't have 72. Let's just wait up there now. Maybe we can get that 65 again. We'll put an offer. If we get it, we get it. We're also waiting at 90. We could get a flip over at 355, and maybe it turns into a bid. It might already be a bid. Right now, we do have some
Not yet.
News to share with you. Unfortunately, this will create lower ratings, but Adara has been working so hard here without Brendan on, and you can clearly see, even during the midday show, she's actually even coined her sleep trading. So we're going to give her some more time here, and she will be off of the recap show until further notice.
Still smiling.
Yeah, no, we're happy. I mean, it was a great experiment while it lasted, and we'll see if we can get her back on. So tonight, join myself and Brian Shannon as we will go over some of these plays. So yeah, so far so good, man. This NVIDIA is coming back up to the upside. Let's see if we do get that 65 print right now on NVIDIA.
So it's now paired down to 500,000. I think at 350, it's probably going to flip. We'll see what happens there. Peloton's still there, but it's not moving, so it doesn't really matter. 1 million to the sell side. It's not a huge number, but it's not nothing. So that's worth watching. Apple just came out of now Apple's a million. It was not before. It's Google. Look, this is enough to just put Google with a question mark next to it to go over this stock in the morning. Was never a part of the plan. But when you break lows like this, oh, thank you, Wick. When you break lows like this at the end of the day, when it's been completely range bound the last couple, this is another name that it could take out some major support as now you're head to the downside. Google dragging, I think, some things down with it here. Obviously, could have held on to Amazon, but got out of that one at the imbalances coming out, and it comes to the downside. So it is what it is. It's that 50-50. You don't know which way it's going to go. Sometimes you get it out, and that happens. Other times you get it out, and it's the absolute right time to do it. So no bounce off VWAP on Amazon as that continues to head down to the bottom. I'd expect in 15 seconds we're going to see some flips. NVIDIA could flip to a buy. That's certainly possible. It's already paired off 75% of that imbalance. And the reason we say 355, it's not we have a magic crystal ball. That's generally speaking when most of the imbalances get paired with a large update. So NVIDIA,
I think it must have gone down.
Well, okay, it just went down. Oh, it went down a little bit, but it did not pair off. So, okay, it went down by like 100,000 and did not pair. So it's still a small sell imbalance on NVIDIA. Not enough to write home about. That's not enough to do much of anything. 500,000 shares of NVIDIA. It's done 265 million.
All right, let's get going to the upside, hopefully now with NVIDIA. But yeah, we're not in anything else. We still have Palantir, actually. What am I talking about? All right, so Palantir right back into that spot. So PLTR, we will have once again another look on this one and see if we can get a fill at 86, because I forgot that. Okay, there it is. We just got filled there. So nice move on 86 as it breaks back through. That's a good trade to end the day on Palantir. We just got out of our last piece. Right there, I was only looking at the long, and I forgot that we did have a little bit of a short on Palantir, but we talked about that was like 10 or 5% of that position. We did get that fill there as well. So there it is at the end of the day. Still waiting for that one big move back to the upside, and we will see if that does come out or not. 128, here it comes. It looks like it's going to break lower, which is completely fine. And like I said, we don't have a big piece left of this. Still waiting to see if we get a pop at the end of the day. Our stop on this one is breaking through 25s. So here it comes, it just bounces again. I have no idea. The futures looks like that is going to be a good little move to the downside and then a stop. So hopefully we can hold that level right there, 68.85. We'll look to see if we can hold in there right now on the Qs. But
how are the futures holding?
I don't know. That was just a great short. I feel like we were right. We got taken out there. Yeah, I don't know what the news is there.
But Google's tanking. Amazon's going down with it. How are the futures holding up? I mean, it's not like NVIDIA's blowing out the top rate. Like Meta just dropped $1.50. This is what I'm getting at. Meta dropped $1.50. This is Google just made some fresh lows. It dropped like 70 pennies, but making fresh lows there. Amazon, since this little move, it dropped from the 50s down about 70, 80 cents. Like everything is losing bids left, right, and center except for the overall NASDAQ. It's not like it has to. Like I'm not talking about the names that make up the 100%, but something is holding the NASDAQ up pretty well there for sure. What's Broadcom doing?
Apple, maybe.
It could be, you know what, I should have. Why am I looking at Broadcom before I looked at Apple? That doesn't even make any sense. Although Broadcom is bouncing. So Broadcom's holding up at least a little bit well there. Apple, what's Apple doing? At VWAP, came down, but it's just holding VWAP. So, I mean, Apple's relatively strong today. It's going to end up, 0.05% better than the NASDAQ, but above VWAP is good. So some things are holding it up. It looks like Meta, Amazon, and Google. Those are the three names that took it on the chin going into the close there. I didn't really check out Microsoft.
Tesla right now down about $1 and change. That's another name that's starting to go down. I mean, that was a good one. 210.30s all the way down to 209.20s right now. Coming back in is Tesla. So that's a nice move to the downside there. Palantir, NVIDIA we got out of as that broke lower. Micron was a great short for us. We were able to do well on that one. I mean, look at this short. Look at that out right there, 97. We did get stopped out and back in on Micron. And then, yeah, Coffee Trader, you're right, man. We did have ARM today. And look at it, closing at its highs right now, ARM up 2%. So that name continues to work. It's too bad that broke 130. That broke 130 just as we were getting ready for 230 and head into this little move back higher. So, yeah, it looks like that will have to close out on the high, which we like. Maybe we'll look for some ARM tomorrow. But I'm going to head over. Yeah, Starbucks is probably up huge. Right now, I don't know what was going on with Starbucks. At 98 and change. Wow. This name definitely has something underneath it. All right, here we go. No, Adara's just is off of the recap show. So she'll be back on there with Sharif and punning up a storm for you guys again tomorrow. So a minute left, I'm out of here. Adara will also be ringing the bell soon.
Yeah, go get them. It's going to be a good aftermarket show. It's not like, I mean, I think Nordstrom's could be a mover. There's no question about it. But obviously, you've got a lot to go over one day out from NVIDIA earnings. So you know what to do, everybody. You got to get locked and loaded. We only have about 30 seconds to go. Just watching some bounces happen in the overall market. A NASDAQ making a little bit of a bounce. Google found a bit of a bottom in there after that move to the downside on the rollover. A big move coming back to the upside here. They're buying up Amazon as well. So that's looking at least a little bit better going into the close. I mean, everything was dumping in this last couple of minutes. At least not everything. I mean, it was Amazon, Meta, and Google were all selling off rather heavily without the market breaking down. But Adara, this Tuesday is over for at least the market in 2 and 1. So ring it. And the market is now closed. So hold on to your butts. We were a whopping 0.3% to the upside on the NASDAQ. And I'm saying a whopping, no, I'm being entirely facetious about that. 0.3% up on the NASDAQ, the ES 0.1%. The Dow, I have no idea. It felt like it was going to be a bit of an inside day overall, and for a lot of names, it absolutely was. If you looked at the market, it did take out the lows only to completely reverse it, not really make any fresh highs in the afternoon. I'd say very much an inside day, which makes sense in anticipation of the big earnings tomorrow coming from NVIDIA. We get a few others, but I mean, everyone's going to be focused on NVIDIA, no questions about it. Big shout out to Fabian and Ramin on the ones and twos, as always, giving their absolute best and making us look and sound good, which is the tough thing to do with my ugly mug around here at times. I want to give a shout out midday crew, great lessons, wild trading, both Adara and Sharif, and a special shout out to Adara, obviously with Brendan gone, doing double duty. She's doing the desk in the morning. She was doing the aftermarket show. She was doing the midday, still doing the watch list and all that good stuff for you guys each and every single day. So big shout out to her. Shout out to everyone in the chat. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. You know, whether or not you make money or lose money, I can tell you, like yesterday was much better than today for me. It made more yesterday than I lost today, but it was a losing proposition because of Apple this morning. Overall, wish I could tell you I had one less shot in Apple or maybe use more size in Amazon, but all you can do is try to be better tomorrow. That's what we're going to try and do. That's what I want everyone to take forward with them. And do not say, I made this mistake and I don't want to make it again. When things like Kava happen, look to that trade the next couple of days. Kava is a big-time mover. It is a stock that I feel like deserves our attention, and I know I'm slapping a fail on myself for not at least looking at it on a daily basis to put on some trades. There were some really good opportunities the last couple of days in Kava, pulling back in, and I don't think I took full advantage of it. Hope to maybe rectify that tomorrow. So you're not going anywhere. We still have the market recap show as normal. We've got Sean at the desk. We got special guest Brian Shannon and a whole lot of NVIDIA to go over. Good luck, everybody. It's your market recap.
Nordstrom's, welcome to the recap show one more time. Wow, you know what we actually ignored throughout the whole day was MSOS, man. Wow, what a big mover there today, down 13%, goes cannabis stocks to the downside. I don't know why we didn't look too much more at that. We talked about riding Tilray to the downside today. It doesn't look like it does anything. Let me switch this over to a 3-minute chart. We will have Brian Shannon on. Yeah, it doesn't do anything all day. We'll have Brian Shannon on today to talk a little bit about everything tomorrow. I see in the chat, tomorrow will be a good day. I promise you that. We had a battle back with FXI. And I do want to say we do have Benzinga Pro. I mean, I was doing this show alone for 6 months. We will miss Adara, maybe more than that. We will miss Adara here, but I still have all of this in my ear right now. Special counsel, something about DJT secures new indictment in election subversion case. Okay, we can check out if anything's happening right now with DJT, but do not fret. We do have all of the earnings coming through, and it's not too big. Nothing happening with DJT right now. Sentinel One coming through, Nordstrom's coming through today as well, and then there was one more box at 405. Again, not huge market caps tonight, but not bad. 4 billion. Looks like Box starting to run a little bit here as we wait out for these reports. We're going to go to a 1-minute chart just to be able to see it. Box could possibly be out again. I do have Benzinga in my ear. As soon as we get that, we will discuss it. Today was kind of just one of those days, man. XLF continues to go higher. Let's switch over into the daily charts for XLF as well. Look at that, taking out those highs. We looked at JP Morgan today, big movers. We had Justin Zaks on from Moo. He talked a lot. He talked a lot about NVIDIA, and I asked him specifically what was of interest. It looks like those 140 calls and puts are being talked about a lot over on their platform. What was weak today? I mean, oil came into the downside. We did have some notes to talk about here. Energy sector drifted lower as market participants continue to react to disruptions in Libya, right? So we're going to have to wait to see what happens here with oil ticking now below the 50 period. We actually recently bought XLE. I'm going to ask Brian about XLE and what he thinks here for this ETF, because we had recently bought some of this, now coming back in a little bit down 0.88. Feel like obviously this is going to be a name that's going to get well looked at into elections, now 68 days away or so. I looked it up a while ago and it was 80. So I'm trying to, like, in my head, just kind of think about how many days. Maybe you guys in the chat can let me know what has happened right there to the downside. There it is. JWM is now out. So we'll go bang on that one. JWN now out, reporting 90 cents. Downside right there. $20 coming through for Nordstrom's. We will get those numbers immediately once they're hit. Revenue 3.98 million. Bouncing around right now. Now an upside move. Okay. Well, it goes up. What goes down must go up, apparently. Nordstrom's. Let's just have a quick look at the daily chart. What we're looking for is 23 break, 24 break higher, possibly coming through there. Watch out for 20 to the downside as well there for Nordstrom's. The expected move today, priced in from options, 11% for Nordstrom. So Nordstrom's closing the day in and around $21. Let's see, 11% gives us $2 one way or the other. We do touch $22.50 and $20. There's still that story about me looking back and seeing Sharif there 2, 3, 4 years ago and him trading closing trades. I was like, do not do that. You, especially in our business, might be something if you're swinging them, but you can get taken out by algos here. That drifts down into $20 and up into $22.50. There goes JWN. If anything else comes out, I'll get it for you. I'm now seeing it right now. There it is. Nordstrom's Q2 2024 EPS, 96 cents, beating 71. Sales miss on sales, beat on earnings. So earnings beat, nice move there for JWN, starting to get higher and higher and higher right now. 22.70 coming in right there. A miss for JWN on sales, but a beat on earnings per share. And there's Box out right now. Beat 44 cents versus 40, 270 versus 269. Basically in line from what I'm seeing for Box, but you do like that 10% EPS boost for BOX. JWN, nice move on that one, my guy. Let's see what's happening with Box. Okay. Stonks.com, Box.com. Right now, nice upside move starting to go. If you had that pick, go over there to stonks.com. Obviously too late now, but tomorrow's NVIDIA, you can go. There it is. It's, oh, that's Moo, sorry, on the screen there, but you can go to Stonks and figure that out, what you're trying to do. JWN continues to make upside move. If I see anything here on the recap and on, here we go, Miss Analyst, this is a 3.23 increase in sales, same period next year. So despite missing, they still beat on last year's sales number. JWN right now, there it is. There's that percentage we are looking for. Implied move 11 and change. Looks like we're getting 8 and change. Nice move there to the upside. Nordstrom's, there it is. Okay, not a great guide, IMO. my opinion. 175 to 205 versus an estimate of 192. So I feel like they kind of just brushing that dirt off their shoulder and giving you right in the middle, right? 175 downside, 205 upside. Give us 13, 15 cents either way, and you're at that target of 192. So JWN, a nice move there to the upside as we continue to go. So there it is, man. 2 earnings, and both actually received quite well. Nordstrom's guidance higher, EPS beat on box, beat all over the place, a miss one end on JWN. So there it goes. Nice movements. Nordstrom's up 9% now. Box up 8%. So I think a pretty successful day. I mean, today is going to be one day. Tomorrow is going to be another. And when we get NVIDIA coming through, we saw that moving today. And what a disappointment it was for me into the afternoon. We were expecting a much bigger move right there on NVIDIA into the close, and we didn't get anything. So I feel like right now it's shares tight to the vest. Shares tight to the vest right now on NVIDIA as we wait to see what movement will happen tomorrow. And it's funny because we actually talked about this. This also is there's box right there on stonks. There it is. Movement of 11% expected for NVIDIA. And you can see it really got going early. On the sticky note, we were looking at 128. We did have that break back and forth, back and forth. And at the end, we were trying to hold the long. And the long was fine. It's just, it didn't do anything. So stopped out some areas, out on the top, stopped out on others. Basically, the afternoon was basically a washed trade. We did trade a lot of the TQQs, and again, disappointing into the close. Sometimes you got to trade the active sectors. So let's do that right now and go over some of these sector recaps. I'll go next topic. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, we'll figure that out after. But right now, let's go over something. XLF, XME, gold right here, still continuing to go to the high side for GLD. We talked about this with Michael yesterday. Maybe we'll have a talk about this with Brian very, very soon about what his opinion on gold is. I know we go back and forth. Let's check out IBIT. We did have Bitcoin moving around a little bit there today, and IBIT today down that 2.2%. So we could find out if there's anything happening with IBIT. Hey, man, another one is out right now. It's Sentinel-1 reporting right here. This could be another one of those names. We could 198 million of revenue, 33% increase year over year for Sentinel-1. So we'll find out what's happening. Announced the second quarter fiscal 2025 results. We'll get those numbers when they come through here on Benzinga. So right now we're just getting a quick note that it's announced. We'll find out what that number is right now. So Sentinel-1 looks like it was, I'm hearing in my ear it was a beat, but they're starting to go to the downside right now, down 7%. There it is. Loss of 22 cents on Sentinel-1, sending this name downside. So there it is. Okay, so in line with estimates, expected minus 22 cents, they get minus 22 cents. So Sentinel-1 downside and in line, not great. If you look at the RSI, that's pushing this name all the way back in, down into a 15 handle. Big time movement there for Sentinel-1. If you look at the chart, you're now down, what did I say we're at now? 23. So looking at a daily chart, it's actually a drop in the bucket. Nice rally for Sentinel-1 again. And as you go here, if you're part of Trade Ideas, you can click it here, endpoint security software. So we like Fortinet in this space. We like CrowdStrike. We can have a quick look to see if there is any effect on CrowdStrike. There was a story at the end of the day on CrowdStrike and NVIDIA coming up with something. Doesn't look like they're doing anything. You know what? PanW, we kind of left alone for a minute. We'll find out what's happening now with PanW. PanW, nice high side there into 360, 365, and a pullback for PANW. The best part about what we do here on the show is cover all the earnings. I feel like a name that we're not giving enough respect to possibly for a really good move coming in tomorrow is Salesforce. I like this name breaking through this level. We keep bouncing off. I mean, I'd rather be down here so our expectations can get us back here and then a break higher. But I'm looking for Salesforce to put up some numbers. Not a great report here, dropping back in, obviously, and then a hold down at 232. Let's see what Salesforce can do tomorrow. That number is going to be coming in. All right, other than energy, a little bit of a flat day. IWM pulls back a little bit today into 218 as interest-sensitive stocks take a back seat. I mean, there wasn't too many stories major stories today in the market. I mean, we can look at individual stocks right now. Let's go over to a heat map. You can get my mug out of there so we can try to see what's going on. There's Google coming back in a little bit today. So today, the market's chopped around Tuesday ahead of tomorrow's hotly anticipated earnings report, right? We talked about NVIDIA coming through in CRM. Both the NASDAQ and the S&P sold off early and battled back to roughly end the day near the flat side. Stocks like Costco and Walmart continue to work. I mean, Amazon takes it on the chin today, down 1.3%, but Costco up $900, the price target there. Nice move for Costco, up to 1.8%. Good move. And you think there's strength in the consumer, you might be right. MasterCard, Visa upside today as well. KO upside. Talk about some of the consumers there going nuts. Nike up 1.2%. You know what surprised me today was Starbucks. Starbucks up 2 and change as well today. Eli Lilly on Zepbound, is that what it's called? Zephyra, something like that. Up 0.42, Zepbound. Adobe up today, Intuit up. Netflix with a price target increase today, taking it out, up 1.06%. NVIDIA, Broadcom, your boy Qualcomm up 2.6%. Texas Instruments, and what's this name down here? Analog Devices, ADI, starting to make them sing as well, up 3 points. It's Google that really had a downside move today into the close. Let me just have a quick look at Google and see where that name winds up going. GOOGL. I wonder if we got a story here because this name really fell off near the end of the day. This name's in trouble, and I'll tell you why. If you're going to look at a daily chart for Google, we keep on rejecting this 167, 168 area. I do not want to see this name back down near 156. Stay away, Google. Do not get near that 200 period. Still show some strength. This is a name, again, should be independent of NVIDIA, but we're going to see tomorrow where it winds up going. Jets ETF, a nice move higher. MSOS, wow, that name really hit back down into the lows. I've said from before, you're better off rolling up your stock certificates and lighting them on fire and smoking them rather than buying some cannabis ETF as these names continue to get hit to the downside. And you can see even here on RSI, I mean, down to $34. You know what? I know he's listening right now. I'm going to ask Brian Shannon, let's find an anchored VWAP for MSOS because we found one for Intel, believe it or not, and it was a 40-year. I mean, come on, guys. You guys know about 40-year anchored VWAPs, right? And that actually worked. It bounced off almost flat off of $19. So that actually worked great there for MSOS. I want to thank everybody for sticking with us today. Over 2,800 of you watching today. That is awesome. And it must be for our guest of the day, and it's a good friend of mine, and he is the author of Maximum Trading Gains with an Anchored VWAP. I got the book right here. Let's go. It's Trader Talk. Hi, Mr. Shannon. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well.
Good. I don't know if you heard what I said there. We saw today, we always go over sector recaps. Today, the cannabis sector takes a hit and is down 13+%. Oh yeah, that might be a pun. Takes a hit. Yeah, they're off air and still giving me these puns. But I don't know. We keep on talking about it. It's MSOS. It's a downside move on the daily chart. It looks broken to me. Any comments here about this Trust Advisors ETF for cannabis?
I agree. We're, the owners of these stocks are just getting smoked here, Sean. There's no anchors that I can see anywhere that are below the price. So we're below every single anchor that you can draw, meaning people are losing money on balance. There's the anchor from the IPO back in 2020, and you can see we came up short of that right here, and it's a disaster. You're better off, like you said, smoking your stock certificates if you got them.
Yeah, I started doing that a while ago and gave me a headache, so I stopped. But right now, yeah, I'm down honestly like 90% on some of these names. It's really pathetic, Brian. All right, so let's move on to something else. I was giving you a lot of credit and well due. A couple earnings reports ago, I think it was 2 ago, you were on with me live when we had NVIDIA earnings, and what a fun time that was. And I believe, and again, it's stock adjusted, the split was there, but we had called, and I'm going to say it was back, some of these dips, And again, when you're looking at it, you put an anchor on it. I believe it was 760. Can't remember exactly what that would have been, and where I think it was right down into here. That would make sense. Down there, $67. Maybe it was $670, or there it was right there, $75. That hit, and then since then, straight back up to the upside. So let's do a little bit of work now, Brian. What are we thinking? Is there an area where we could possibly bounce? The expected move for NVIDIA tomorrow is 11%. If we get that move, it takes out all-time highs over that 140. Is there an area of possible support that could bounce off of if the report goes the other way?
There are, and I think the one that you're referring to, Sean, just might have been over here. I don't remember, but that's when it came down to the year-to-date anchored VWAP and got that really nice bounce. And just at the beginning of this month, we saw another bounce from that year-to-date anchor. Now, when we zoom in a little bit, you can see the anchor off of the all-time high is right down here at about 120. That's about where we see the 50-day moving average. And just below it, we've got the 20-day and the anchor from the August low. So this kind of looks like the sweet spot, somewhere in that 117 to 119 area, that if we pull back in there, I think you're going to see some buyers. Looking over to that 30-minute time frame on the right, the anchor from this gap has been really good here recently. And if we break below that, then, you know, pulling back down to 117, I think that would probably be a place where if you're super aggressive and you want to buy the dip, then maybe that's the place that the buyers come back in.
We saw, good look there. Let's have a look at that tomorrow. And I think you and I are the same belief. It's not really worth taking a position a couple days or the same day maybe of earnings unless you somehow, a little birdie told you something, which of course no one ever tells us these things. So I feel like we might as well wait for those levels. So thank you for coming on and discussing that. I saw a little tweet of yours today or in the past, 200 SMA for Microsoft coming into play again. I love the stock. There's a lot of viewers here that are in this name again. I think it's number 2 or number 3 on the market cap watch list right now with NVIDIA and Apple. Microsoft, what are we thinking about this? I mean, I'm a simpleton and I love the 200 period. I mean, if you come over to my chart, I feel like we want to buy stocks anytime we come into the 200 period. But you had mentioned, though, below the 5-day declining SMA. Anything interesting that you're noticing here on Softy?
Right, Sean. The 200-day, I agree. It's a good, simple benchmark that a lot of people look at and take action at. We saw the anchor from the October 23 low really kind of mark the low here in August. So from that low in August right here, we look at that 30-minute time frame, and you can see that anchor, that green anchor, is where we are right now. So it seems as though that level, that anchor coming together with the 200-day moving average and even this 20-day moving average, which tomorrow will begin to rise as we average this data out the next 2 days. So we'll have a rising 20-day moving average here as well. That gets people's interest. So what I had sketched out and what I think is possible here is we run up to the anchor from this gap in the 5-day moving average, maybe consolidate a little bit, then make a run from to the anchor from the high up near about 424. So it kind of seems like a good risk reward in here that your risk is down below this level. Maybe you get a little pullback in the morning, it starts to shoot up, and then you want to buy on the way up with a stop somewhere under here. But it's looking like it's, you know, always a good place for institutions to go put a lot of money to work in quickly.
Yeah, I think that also time frame, right? I mean, as you just mentioned there, as you said, if you're going to put money to work, Microsoft's not a bad place to sit and wait to see what is going on. A name, again, that you and I go back and forth about, and I'm just going to talk about some of the things that you've talked about in the past as well. Bitcoin. BTC, you had mentioned 62,000, a near-term level that a lot of analysts have been looking at. Today, we actually breach, get a little bit below. I'm seeing right now a current quote of 61.8 for Bitcoin coming through. Your confluence here with Fibonacci's and anchored VWAP. So without burying the lead a little bit, what are you thinking right here about Bitcoin? Just looking at a daily chart, I still think it looks pretty good. I talked about this yesterday with Michael, holding some of these levels. I don't get too worried until we break below this 58 again. And then will we see 50 and will that hold like it did that Monday? Any interesting thoughts here about the biggest and the baddest of them all, Sir Bitcoin?
Sir Bitcoin, really overall, Sean, I mean, if you're in there trading it back and forth for swings, it's time to start getting interested. Perhaps we come down towards about 61,000,
Okay.
but we're still in a little bit of a pullback mode. If we undercut that prior 62 a little bit, pull back down to the anchor from the recent low. But this overall on the daily time frame, we're just in this much bigger range of 55 to 73 really, and we're kind of in the midpoint of that. So we've got a lot of price memory in this general zone, and to me that says there's no big hurry. But if it can hold in here and then start to bounce, this might end up being an important higher low. So it's worth paying attention to. And on that IBIT, this is, maybe we pull back, maybe that would be towards 34.50-ish would be the place to, buy as it starts rallying away from that level.
All right, I was just looking at some insider selling numbers here because there's some chat in our chat right now about insider selling. Is that something that, we've noticed with Jensen Wang there with NVIDIA starting to sell a little bit of this. Some of these announcements, of course, when you're director, have to be made prior to actually selling them. So you get the prospectus and you say on this date, I'm going to be selling shares. Happening now ahead of earnings report. Is that something that you've ever looked at in some of your analysis? There's a lot of traders that say, hey, why are these guys selling? We hear Anthony Noto from SoFi going in there and buying shares, and we get a little bit of a spike when that happens. Is this anything that you've ever charted or looked at and taken in consideration for any of your positions?
Well, I think the price tells you everything that you need to know,
Okay.
Sean. As they always say, people sell for all different reasons. Maybe they're buying a boat, maybe they're, doing whatever tax planning, whatever it may be. It's the insider buys that you want to pay more attention to,
Okay,
like you
correct.
said in SoFi. In thinking back to Elon's sales last year, if you recall, we didn't find out until after he was done. And the stock was, being driven lower based on his sales. And then we got the news that he had sold, and then they bounced from there.
Right.
I'm not an expert in that area. There's nothing I've ever really found that I can use to make money based on that. So I just kind of look at the chart and say, what's the overall picture? How are we holding up in the face of these sales?
I think they say, like in sports, like ball don't lie. You got to look at the price action, judge it based on that, and try to do your best. Here's an example right here. As Berkshire goes in and announces that if you come over to the screen, they announce and they bought some Ulta Beauty. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, stock spikes up that 10% and now doesn't really go anywhere. Probably looking to fade back. Brian, look at this move on Starbucks. Now, when you're looking at a daily chart, it looks, okay, great gap, huge move to the upside. But you know what I found, Brian, and I think that you've taught me a lot when I look at things like this. This is a weekly chart now. I cannot believe that we were here and drew this line on Starbucks. We were lucky enough to buy this dip on Starbucks. Then we get that Brian Nickel, of course, CEO change from Chipotle. But look what we find right here. Goes all the way back to 2019, where we see this high of virtually $100 for Starbucks. And guess what? We're knocking on heaven's door potentially. Shout out to Guns N' Roses as we look to break higher on Starbucks. Interesting point of reference for me at $100 and the 200 period moving average. Is Starbucks like a cool down spot here? I thought we'd fall back in. Any opinions on the way this chart looks?
Well, first, I think you got to give credit to Bob Dylan for that.
Correct,
and,
my bad.
Guns N' Roses covered it. But 100 is a nice round number. We've just had a rally from 75 up into this area. That's a 33% rally. I find this stock to be temperamental, I guess you would say. So it's not one that I've really paid a lot of attention to in terms of trading. I think you've got the right idea of buying it down low in that support area. And now you've got to look at it and say, is it going to cool off in here? Most likely it would seem. We've got a lot of price memory in this area. So it just seems to make sense that after a 30% rally, it would slow down a little bit for a large cap stock like this, but it's got great momentum. We are, we consolidated above the anchor from the all-time high. That's this purple line. And now we're, pushing higher once again. So the momentum's there, and we've always got to be aware of the potential areas where supply might be released, but, there's no sign of it yet.
I just pulled up your book and started reading it because we have a question here from the chat from Henry. And he says, can we ask Brian about why, if in his book, it appears the anchored VWAP is more about anchoring, where to anchor it and the average than it is about some volume analysis. I mean, you do have a price time and volume chapter here, of course, chapter 2. So I believe that this book obviously going to be focusing on volume weighted average price and the anchor, but how important is volume? I mean, I don't really know how to address this question because it's kind of in the title, but volume obviously playing a huge part. And I guess we look for those extended days when stocks get really excited based on earnings or a news report, and then volume obviously will affect the anchored volume average price.
Sure. The volume, the reason we look at the volume weighted average price is it blends price, time, and volume together rather than like a simple moving average, which is time based and, based on our random 10 days or whatever it is we want to look at. If you look at my screen there, Sean, you can see that the earnings from Starbucks were reported right here. It took a couple days of back and forth, and then we had a little bit of supply release there, and then buyers defended it right here, and that's where we're getting this next leg higher is from the bounce, that began 2 days ago off of the anchor from the earnings. So we want to know, basically, we look at it and say, from an important event, that's where we start the anchor, and that's the art of anchoring. When did the sentiment shift in this market? Well, it shifted on the day of that earnings report. And on that day, we saw a big back and forth movement for a couple days. Now, this is where the bulls and bears wrestled, and the bulls have retaken control. So we know that the average participant from the earnings report forward is now up by approximately, so the VWAP is 94. They're up about 4.5 points on average. So that tells us that the sentiment is strong here. Right. Buyers are in control. Short sellers are scrambling. They didn't get a chance to push it lower and break it down. And that's what the anchored VWAP does for us.
One more name, if you don't mind, as we're going to run out of a little bit of time. And it's one of my stocks that I own, and there's a lot of people in this name, of course, and it's going to be Salesforce. Another great stock, acting, in my opinion, quite nicely here. Would like to see it naturally get back to these levels and breaking through all-time highs. Software as a service hasn't been great. It's been a nice move, obviously, from the year to date down here. If we go back in, just about up, that's close to 10% on the year. We'll see what's going on with Salesforce, but it looks like it's trying to bounce off of 265 here and a break a little bit higher. I'm going to call up a daily chart just to give you a second to sort of load it up, although you're probably already ready. There it is. There's the 200 period. And normally I'm liking to buy stocks that bounce off of it. This one's bouncing the other way. Every time we've hit the 200, we've retraced back in. So what does Brian Shannon need to see tomorrow for price action to maybe stamp a buy here on Salesforce?
I think we spoke about this one maybe last week, Sean, because I have some drawings up in here, and I know I haven't looked at it in a while. On the daily chart, what we had seen was this prior resistance right in here over at this area, then became support, and then resistance over in here, and that's where we are. So what we were looking for last week was a little bit of a pullback and then to kind of come up and make a higher low so it could break beyond this level, which is also this blue year-to-date anchored VWAP, and that's what these arrows we were talking about last week was where the year-to-date anchored VWAP had been holding a support and then resistance. So I think you're at a do-or-die place for this one. If it breaks back below this low from last week, after the earnings, then it might be that it needs more time to be able to push through that level. Otherwise, I think you're probably going to see a gap, and it probably does something like that if it gets going. So it'll be a difficult one to trade if you're not in it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I hate seeing all that top just keeps on bouncing its head. Eventually, if it can't break it, must head to the downside. What about this thing? 3-day rule. So you don't get involved, and this is something that I try to do, and sometimes you miss the move when you don't get involved. You're like, oh my God, why did I wait 3 days? But let earnings settle down and then judge the volume, look to see some moving averages. You ever follow any rules like that, trying to get into play, or is it just based on price action for you? You don't care if it hits a certain level. It could be day one, you'll take the trade. You let stocks settle down after big news events?
I do like to let them settle down. I don't mind missing a move because I'm just not generally a very good news trader.
Right.
So I'd rather miss out than take the gamble of a bigger loss. And I think giving it a couple days really helps. And, like we just saw with, what was the one we were just looking at with the earnings?
Salesforce?
Which one was it? Oh, not Salesforce. The one that Starbucks. Sorry.
Oh, Starbucks. Yeah.
So
right.
sometimes it takes a few days, maybe even a week and a half. If you got the bigger the move, I think the more time it's going to take to digest it. And that's exactly what we had here with Starbucks, is it took about 2.5 weeks. If we were to, if we gapped up to this level instead, then maybe after a day and a half, it would have continued to rally. So the bigger the move, I think it needs more time to digest. Smaller moves don't need as much time.
Right, so that's a great answer, obviously, and we talked about this last week, and I think you and I jive a lot with this stuff, and that is trading what you're comfortable doing. We talked about, hey, some of these stocks, Campbell's Soup, we had examples where we're getting bored, not breaking out. Certain stocks not participating in moves that we thought, not giving the action, so we just jump out of them. Why waste time and, of course, brain power on names that don't fit sort of what we're looking for as a sort of actionable event with a stock? So I think that's very important. Anything else before I let you go? Any updates on anything that we had talked about in the past? I just made notes on Microsoft and Bitcoin and some of the anchors there. So anything you want to go into that maybe you've just taken a position in or that you're interested in?
Well, yeah, I heard you talking about XLE, and you were going to ask me about
right.
that. I still think that the energy names in general are kind of a mess here. And that was, I think, part of the personality of a stock or a group that we were talking about, is you've got these wild swings in here. But there is one that kind of popped up for me today when I was looking at stocks, and that's BKR, which is Baker Hughes. If you look at Baker Hughes on the daily time frame, it had this really nice uptrend, 3 legs up, and then it failed. But now when we put an anchor off of that peak, you can see we're battling with that right in here. And we can see that with more detail over on the 30-minute time frame on the right. So I think that, Baker Hughes is probably a good stock to look for some upside here. In looking at the weekly time frame, it's definitely a better looking chart than the XLE. So here's this weekly chart. It's got room to run where, you could say this might be a, ascending triangle if you wanted to, or you could call that a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder, whatever you want to call it. It's looking bullish on Baker Hughes. And, if this one starts to, might be a day or two away, but I think you keep a close eye on it. It might be as simple as buy above the high of the last 2 days with a stop somewhere underneath that 35 level.
And that's why we love having you on, giving us some of these names, looking underneath the hood. It's not all about ETFs. That's a great call right there. And here it comes. It's Maximum Trading Gains with your anchored VWAP. Go get the book ASAP. They can find you at Alpha Trends, of course, on Twitter. And hey, if someone messages you and tells you that they're from Trader TV Live, you'll respond to them, right?
I'll give them extra love always.
There we go. Thank you so much. It's Brian Shannon. Best of luck with all those ideas. We love having you on, and definitely a favorite guest of mine. It's Brian Shannon. Go pick up his book. Thank you, Brian, and we'll check you next week.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Ciao. Go Bob Dylan. Go Bob Dylan. Bye. And I got a lot of trouble there in the chat. And they're like, oh, man, come on, you're no spring chicken. You should know about Bob Dylan. But yes, we do. The problem is when I'm in the car and I'm listening to this rock and roll music, it's always Guns N' Roses. I should have remembered about Bob Dylan. And then there was some talk about, oh, Slash is a better guitarist and all that. I'm not getting involved in that. I clearly don't know enough about it. Thank you so much for watching. Over 2,300 of you stayed late the whole way. I want to thank you for that. Tomorrow, the show is going to be a banger. We've got Neil in for the rest of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then next week, of course, we have Monday off for Labor Day. So there you go, Fabian. Finally get a day off coming through again. So, hey, man, rest is for the wicked. And hopefully we'll get some tonight. It's been a blast today. It was another big day. NVIDIA, tomorrow. Get some sleep. It's tomorrow. I believe it's 4:10. We should have some excitement. It was good, though, today. JWM higher, Sentinel-1, Box. Good reports. We'll see tomorrow with Salesforce and NVIDIA. For that, I want to give a big thank you to Brian Shannon. I want to give a big thank you to Fabian for staying late. And for all of you as well, thank you to Bears vs. Bulls for that question in the chat. And thank you to everybody for participating and staying with us. I'm Sean Catini. You can go find me at Trader TV Sean on all the platforms. Until tomorrow, ciao, everybody.